go.
So then I pulled out last. Wait, whoa,
Hey,
whoa, whoa, whoa,
whoa.
Hey, everyone. Welcome to the Nintendo Prime Podcast, Season 2, Episode 38. How we doing, everyone? We're going to have a pretty jam-packed show today. We'll be talking about Nintendo Switch 2. What a shocker, right? Switch 2 is a topic again? Who the hell picks these topics?
Switch
Anyway.
2-inch?
I see somebody changed the name of topic number 2. But look, we got some Xbox bullshit that we're going to be talking about, apparently. And then, Nintendo Direct, because this is actually our first podcast since the Direct happened. So I believe we have some grades to revisit and some other things. So
The Xbox is the second biggest leak in history after Happy Hour yesterday.
Let's see. Hey.
That was the first biggest leak.
Well, technically, they leaked before you. But I mean, I get it. You're saying your leak was the bigger deal. I understand.
It was just a bigger leak. Doesn't matter who was first. It matters who was bigger.
I mean, if you're Ricky Bobby, if you're not first, you're last. So I'm just.
But it's not. I'm not saying I'm first. I'm saying I'm bigger. I'm saying it's a bigger leak.
Yeah. And dude, I understand. The 2-inch has to have the big leak. It is what it is. All right, guys. Welcome to the stream. We're gonna go around, see what's been going on, what we've been playing lately, introduce ourselves, all that jazz. Let's start off with Eric Moore with his own fancy name tag for 2 weeks in a row because we were just idiots,
right? I can't believe we never thought of doing that.
Yeah. So, anyways, Eric, how's it going, bud? What have you been doing lately?
Just living life. Yeah.
Any gaming?
Yeah. No, I played some Tears of the Kingdom over the weekend. My sister and brother-in-law went to a wedding over. Yeah, and they have the kids, so I went with them to kind of babysit if needed. And so I had a lot of nothing to do over the weekend, so I played some Tears of the Kingdom. I ended up going through the Lightning Temple and beating that. Woo! So 3 out of the 4 temples now.
Dude, how did you like that? Like, you literally fight the boss like right away at the very beginning.
Yeah, it was pretty cool. It was pretty
that
cool.
Was a sick moment. Did not expect that.
No, not at all. But yeah, no, it was freaking great. Then I wandered around the Gerudo area for a while, and yeah, that's pretty much all I did.
Wandering.
Yeah.
He likes to wander in the desert, if you can't tell. Okay, I'm not going anywhere with it. No, we're not going anywhere with it.
In there somewhere?
No, I'm not setting up a joke. I promise.
Okay.
Because we have Jake Randall on the show. He does all the setups.
Right.
Jake, how you doing? What have you been playing lately? What you got going on?
I'm doing well. Let's see. I finished the Pokemon Scarlet Violet DLC, the Teal Mask. Loved it. Completed the Pokedex for that one as well. And then I actually went back to a game I never played when it came out, which is Link's Awakening remake on the Switch. And I've gotten I'm just at the beginning still, but I've gotten 2 of the instruments. I think you need 7 to wake up the Windfish. So that's what I've been playing lately.
Hell yeah. Andres, restart. What you got going on over there besides snacking away? Yeah, I haven't had dinner yet, so I don't get to have dinner for like 2-3 hours.
Well, snacking on some dark chocolate covered almonds.
I'll give you
There
some.
you go.
Never mind.
Yeah.
That sounds good.
Well, in terms of what I've been playing, I have been playing Tears of the Kingdom. Actually, I'm thinking about finishing up, actually getting all the shrines finally. And beyond that, I have been playing a lot of F-Zero 99, and it's a good time.
I haven't tried that yet. I need to.
It's free.
Yeah,
downloaded it.
I installed it, but I haven't played it yet. Everyone keeps
Same.
telling me it's a lot of fun. I'm like,
Y'all make me sick. The game is free, and you haven't played it.
I've installed it.
It's not even like
That
a
is step
massive
one.
investment. It's a quick thing. Like you jump in, just give it a whirl,
Jump
and then
in,
have your minds blown.
Look, my
Yeah.
mind gets blown, but I don't need a game for that.
I'll play it tonight.
I'll play it. Yeah, you know what? Here,
I'll play it
Let's
right
do
now.
Andres, I will play at least a single race tonight and get my ass kicked.
You
All right?
guys are the reason why we're not getting a new F-Zero game.
I downloaded it. I know it doesn't count as a purchase. I don't know how they
Hey.
count
Right now.
when they're doing the numbers. I'm not sure if just downloading it really.
No, but
matters.
it's a good time, honestly. Like it's really good. And it does give me optimism about the future of the series.
All right.
we
Yeah,
can
wasn't there
go
like
deeper
a
into
couple
it.
leaked like future modes in it possibly?
They have some updates planned for the next coming weeks.
Nice. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, anyways, I need to play it. I didn't play it. I'm really sorry. I didn't play it. It's not like I have an excuse. It's been a week. It's free, but I didn't play it. So it is what it is. I do have it downloaded. There's intent to play. I had intent to play Splatoon 3 last night too.
You know,
That-
I did download Sea of Stars. I have an intent to play it, but I have not booted it up yet because I'm like, I'm gonna finish Tears of the Kingdom and Pikmin 4 first.
Yeah, I haven't touched that since the first week it came out. I played a little bit, and then that was the reason I started Link's Awakening, because I just wasn't in the mood for an RPG after playing so much Pokemon.
Nice.
Fair.
So
I just want to clarify, when I say finish, I mean 100%, excluding Koroks. That's never.
I was
gonna
just say it's not a true hundo. It's not a true
Well,
hundo.
I'm gonna true hundo Pikmin 4 because that's reasonable. True hundoing Tears of the Kingdom is unhealthy. No offense to those who've done it.
That's how I
applaud
finished
you
it
for
too.
having to play it.
I pseudo hundoed it. Just no.
I mean, look, I can hear you saying like hundo
not
and
no,
like
but not all.
Starfield is unhealthy, but Tears of the unhealthy.
To
Dude,
get all
you can
Korok
look-
seeds,
just
you
look
know
up
how
the Korok.
ridiculously hard that is.
It's not that bad, dude. It's all out there now. We have all the
It's
information.
just
You
tedious.
look
It's
up
just tedious. I don't
It's
want to.
Well, I
probably-
mean,
I don't want
first
to
off,
spend time
if
on
you're
that. It's
looking
not
up
worth it
guides
to
to
me.
do it, does that even
Wait,
count?
whoa. Are you saying that it's shameful to look up guides for the most boring part of the game?
If you're okay, all right. Well,
You're just looking at a map
No,
that tells
all
you
right.
where they are.
Oh,
no,
whoa.
no.
Nate, why are you even talking right now? You haven't even gotten all the shrines, bro.
Bro.
I'm just research just admitted he doesn't have all the shrines. What are we talking about?
Oh.
Yeah, but I'm trying to.
So am I.
No,
What's
no,
your-
no. But
Well, I
you
already
haven't played
did, so I don't know why I'm
F-Zero
being judged here.
He
None of
hasn't
you
played
played F-Zero
F-Zero
99, so all of you should be judged. You haven't played F-Zero 99. It's been a week.
This is
Almost.
what happens. Everyone's just
All right.
judging each other for
All
what
right.
we're not
You want
playing.
to be like this? That's fun.
He's gonna
Yeah,
play
just
it
play
right
right
now.
now.
Yeah. Mine's upstairs. I can't play it.
Jake,
Actually, this is the
honestly,
wrong switch. This is my hack
oh.
switch.
You
Oh,
grab
you
one
can't
of
get
his-
I don't
online
want to go
now.
online with that puppy.
Oh, yeah. You'll never
Yeah,
get
I'll
it.
just restart. I still be
Go online
rocking the
again.
cardboard duct tape switch over there.
My Switch is fine. Actually, it's been working better lately. It's kind of like it's like an old car. It just kind of,
It's got that street cred. You know,
it's
just
got quirks. You know,
little quirks, so,
it's
you get
kind
the
of funny.
gear
Like
and it runs faster.
my sister's in-law's car broke down this weekend when we went to the beach. A few of us.
That sucks.
And yeah, it sucks. I mean, it's working. The
Did
alternator
you make
just
it
kind
to
of.
the beach?
No, yeah, it was on the way back. That was the problem.
At least you had the
Yeah.
whole day at the beach, though.
Yeah. But my car is older. It has should have more problems, but it never fails. Like it just,
Nice.
I always know it's gonna turn on. Like
What
it
kind
goes.
of
Like,
car
Build
is it?
quality, man. Build
it's a
quality.
Honda Civic.
Oh yeah,
Oh,
dude.
they're super
Yeah.
reliable.
Dude,
Yeah.
those will run
Yeah.
forever till the engine blows up, man.
Yeah, Civics and Camrys are legit.
Dude,
I
I
never
had
got.
a 99 Honda Civic that I finally kicked the bucket 2 years ago and had like 450,000 miles before the engine finally gave
Jeez.
out.
That's
Yeah, dude.
insane.
Honda
Right.
Civics, man, they just fucking go. As long as you change oil and take care of your, dude, it is
Yeah,
fucking
my
go.
car's paid off, so I'm like, yeah, maybe I should just not buy a new car and just drive this one until it eventually blows up.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it'll happen someday, but man,
put some money away for the car at least.
there you go.
So
Yeah.
You're ready for when it happens.
yeah,
Well, then make sure to subscribe
yeah.
Oh, there
Yeah.
it is.
to me.
There it
Yes.
is. Oh, I
Well, you
thought
can
you were talking
subscribe to him too, but you probably
about- I thought you were talking to
already
me. I'm still trying to pay off.
Or
Yeah.
go on
Actually,
OnlyFans, 2-inch destroyer.
oh,
I bet
well,
it is.
yeah. All proceeds go to me.
Anyways,
Yeah.
so this last week's been kind of interesting. So I put a few more hours in the Starfield. Still not out of the damn. I guess the tutorial is it a tutorial? I don't know. It feels like it's a tutorial, but then it's not. It's a very weird experience, but it's really cool. And it's like the one thing I think everyone that plays Starfield has the same experience at the beginning. So it's cool. I'm still enjoying it. It's a game that I'll probably never beat. I'm just going to be honest. I have no desire to really beat it. It's just something I play when I
You
have
said
nothing
you have
else
no
to play.
desire to beat it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it is what it is. No, Jake. I know it's not a family show, but damn. Everything's setting them off today. Must be that Bud Light you're drinking over there.
Yep, half a can. Half a
Half
can in.
He's gone, baby. He's
2
toasted.
inches. He's 2 inches deep
He's
into the
2
can, and
He's 2 inches deep. Anyways, so I played a little bit of that. I did play a smidge of Tears of the Kingdom, not too much. I'm just doing some shrine hunting right now, sort of like Andres, but I'm not like dedicating to let me go get them all right now. But I am, searching for them actively and doing them when I find them.
I was doing the numbers. If I do 2 to 3 a day, I'll be done in less than a month.
Yeah, it's not
I
too
have
bad.
I have like 40 left. So.
And that won't take too long. Yeah, I mean,
unless like the last one I can't find.
Oh, yeah.
I remember for Breath of the Wild, I had what was it? I think 119 shrines, and the last one, I spent. I don't know how it was. It was definitely more than one bout of playing. It was several. It was several days of exploring and wandering, going from one side of like literally going from one corner to like. I tried to cover all my bases. And what was kind of funny is that the reason why I couldn't find it is because it was in the one place I assumed there wouldn't be a shrine, which was in the middle of Hyrule Castle.
There you go.
It was the one where the
Yeah.
dock is.
Yeah, I know
That's
where
what
that is,
that's why I never found it until one day I was just like I gave up and I saw this torch thing and I lit it and I was like, oh
yeah.
Yeah, there's a couple that are definitely really hard to find. It helps when you get the upgraded. I forget what it's called, the Shrine Finder.
mm.
Oh yeah.
I don't know. If
Well,
you've
some of them are
unlocked that
inside
yet.
caves and you don't know how to get into the cave, and that's where
Yeah.
it gets a little tricky.
And you just gotta like mess around, and like sometimes the entrance to where it actually is so far away, and you gotta
Yeah.
like look for any openings. So it is fun to like explore, and then it's rewarding when you find them, but it can be a little annoying.
I was messing around today. So I was behind Death Mountain and I found the Leviathan bones. And the Leviathan bones in Tears of the Kingdom you can interact with in some way. There's some sort of puzzle going on with each of them.
Well, in the depths, they're also in the depths, and there's a piece of armor from previous game in every set of those bones.
Interesting. So there's one pair that's actually still on the surface. So I wonder if there's another version of it down, like I was gonna say downstairs.
They're all
but-
on both, and it's the ones in the depth that have the piece of the past game armor in them, like Tunic of the
Interesting.
Awakening or Tunic of the Sky,
Sure.
whatever.
Yeah, I was curious though because I found like this ball that fit into the eye socket of the Leviathan, and I got like the little Zelda chime for solving a puzzle, but nothing happened. So I don't know what I did.
That sounds
Like
like a Korok thing, but I never did that.
It
so I don't
sounds
know.
like a Korok thing. I was expecting like the but there was no Korok thing. It was the Zelda puzzle solve chime.
Weird.
But there was no side quest or any sort of notification. There was no scene showing anything unlocking. I just heard the music and I'm like, okay, what now?
Yes. McCole in the chat said it's Purapad Plus. That's the Shrine Finder.
Yeah.
There you go.
I mean, I have the Shrine Finder, but is there an advanced version of it?
There is, yeah. It's still doesn't like pinpoint it.
I
But it
also
is,
hate.
it's, it's
I
more
also
helpful.
hate the beeping. I hate it.
Yeah.
Well, that sucks. That's all I'm gonna say. Well, that sucks.
I mean, if you when you use the depths map, it tells you all the surface where they all are on the surface. You just have to. It's basically figuring out if they're in a cave or not, and how to get into the cave. That's really the hard part.
Yeah. I mean, that is the one thing that's helpful in this game is all the shrines are light roots, and all the light roots are shrines. So if you found one, you know where the other is.
all right.
Yeah.
I actually didn't know that. Thanks for that little nugget of knowledge.
You didn't
And-
know.
No, I
And
didn't.
there's
Oh.
also a lion
Oh.
under each.
Yeah, and if you notice, Nate, not only that, every
stable.
light root, since it's directly below, is just that shrine's name, but backwards.
Yeah, I knew that. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, for some reason I knew that, but didn't realize that the shrine was directly above it. I don't know why.
Yeah.
It
So
actually
you
makes
can just like
totally
switch
makes
up
sense.
the map
Yeah.
and put a thing right where you found a light root where you didn't find a shrine, and there you go.
You ever
Yeah,
think
that-
about how the 3 labyrinths are basically dungeons?
Oh, kind of, yeah. A little.
Because like they
Those-
each have
Those are one of my favorite parts of the game. I love those.
they're very cool, but in
They're like
some
mini
ways
dungeons.
you could
You
argue.
can beat them pretty
I
fast.
could argue you could beat them quicker than the main dungeon, than the main
Right.
dungeons.
That's
They're
why I say
comparable.
they're like mini ones.
I mean, they have. I guess there's less variety to them because the 3 there's differences between the 3 labyrinths, but they're obviously similar. But like you have the terminals, right? Like it still has the terminals. There is a
Mhm.
boss fight to each of them, and there's a fair bit of exploring because you have to explore 3 different sections. for each
That's
one.
true. When you add all 3 together, I guess, yeah. And
Yeah.
I do like the boss battles in them as well. In the like
Yeah.
the basement or the depth, I
Now,
guess.
if they each had like a unique boss battle, then I would have been like, yeah, they're just straight up dungeons. Like that would have been the difference for me.
Yeah.
We're
So,
still
getting back to
talking
what I
about
was
Tears of
saying.
the Kingdom like it just came out.
Mm-hmm.
Getting back to what I was
Who
playing.
needs DLC?
Here we go.
I mean, it is DLC.
Right.
All right.
Wait, I just
getting
want to
back-
wait. I just want to wait till Nate opens his mouth and then say something again. I just want to not let him talk. All right, go ahead.
I mean, I can mute everyone. It's fine. That being said, I also played some World of Warcraft this week, the Dragonflight expansion. I'm still not level 70, but I think I hit level 67. I don't know. People
2 more
usually
to
don't
go.
care. Dude, I really am liking questing in the latest expansion pack. So I don't know. I'm having fun with World of Warcraft again. That's a little dangerous for me. Nah, because I'm never going to hardcore raid again, so I'm good. That's the dangerous thing is when you were
Was that why you
hardcore.
didn't make videos for like 2 days, like a week ago, because you're playing
What, that
WoW
weekend? No, I just took a weekend off.
to play WoW?
No, I didn't play World of Warcraft that weekend. No, that
Okay.
Eric came over on the Sunday, and we watched Packers and other football stuff and played some Madden. That was like the entire day.
You don't actually have to tell me what you were doing. I was just
And then
joking.
on that
like that's your
Saturday
own
was my
private
birthday
life.
party.
You don't have to divulge that information. It's totally fine.
But you're acting like
was
it's
just-
information I'm unwilling to divulge.
I was just throwing a subtle jab. You're supposed to just take the hit and move on.
No, because the jab is incorrect. The subtle jab was I'm getting sucked into World of Warcraft. Oh, is that why you didn't post videos? No.
Okay, fine.
Not everyone works every day, Andres. You can take a day off. It's okay. I mean,
Not
when you
until-
see kids,
Not
you're like,
until
you literally
I-
have to take days
no.
off.
Eric, will you just please butt out?
I know. I'm sorry.
Anyway,
I'm sorry. I'll shut up now.
Anyway,
Thank you. God.
anyways, it's okay. No, I can't go this. See, that's too. Nah, the thing I was about to say is too personal. I gotta keep that one to myself. So let's get into I guess our first topic. We have some awesome stuff we're talking about today, and the first one, yeah, it's Nintendo Switch 2. It is what it is. There's been lots more rumors and reports and things floating out there. The floodgates are open, guys. This is just stuff's going to keep happening. So we're going to keep talking about it. There's been some rumors around the specs. It's pretty much similar to what we've been hearing this whole time with the T239 and what the specs might be with the 8 cores of 78 whatever ARM stuff and 12 gigabytes of RAM and yada yada. You know, it's kind of close in power to the Xbox Series S, which is also sort of close in power to the PlayStation 4 Pro. Is that with DLSS? Is it not with DLSS? Who the hell knows?
That's really the most important question.
Yeah,
Is that
yeah,
with
that's
or
the most
without it?
important part. Like, is
Because
it
if it's
without
without it,
DLSS?
that's insane.
Yeah. And that's the thing. I even tried to get clarification from some of the developers I know who told me PlayStation 4 Pro and power. I'm like, okay, was that with DLSS or is that with it turned off? If it's with it turned off, well, shit, I'm very happy. I'm probably happy either way, to be clear, but I'm very, very happy if it's literally just raw specs near a PlayStation 4 Pro. So I guess
we don't have clarity on that.
Yeah, and I don't think we're going to get clarity until a developer wants to break NDA and just give you the exact specs of everything, and that's probably not going to happen until after it's unveiled.
Yep. Yeah.
That's usually we get the exact specs from a dev unit about 3 months before launch on average. That's when it happens for PS5 and Xbox as well.
I don't want to pour hype in a direction that may not be the truth.
Well, that's what speculation is.
But I'm just going to say that this isn't new information. It's just me pointing out information that's already out there, just for the record. But
hype me up.
Nate the Hate did say, and I'm paraphrasing here, but that the ray tracing that was showcased during the Unreal Engine 5 Matrix demo at Gamescom was either about as good, if not better, than the PlayStation 5 version. Which seems like a crazy thing to actually be happening. But if it is approaching Series S level before DLSS, and then you apply the DLSS 3.5, which would be the ray tracing upscaling, then that seems very, very conceivable. But the implication of that is that Switch 2 games will be approaching PS5 level with DLSS applied, which I don't know. That seems like a I guess that what I'm getting at is I can see a scenario where maybe if they just focus on the ray tracing, like the ray tracing effects could be better than PS5. If that's just all they focus on for the tech demo, because tech demos aren't necessarily a very realistic, like they don't give you the best perspective on what you're going to see game to game.
Showing off specific features.
Right, like it's showcasing what it can do under hypothetical situations, right? Like ideal circumstances. So, like for example, like we never saw. I don't know. You could argue that the Zelda U tech demo, like you could argue the Breath of the Wild is more impressive. They do different things. But anyway, yeah. Regardless,
I don't think they have a problem that you're drinking. I drink on my streams all the time. It's specifically the Bud Light. There's that whole controversy around it.
Oh, yeah. Really? Because this is just Pepsi, so that's cool though.
Yeah. I'm just clarifying. There's that. We don't go political here, but there was a stupid controversy around it.
Oh, is there? That's weird. I just got a sponsorship from them.
Just because of that, I should contact Yulia. Go grab me a 6-pack of Bud quick. I'll just down it quick on stream. Cool. Dude, beer's beer, man. Who gives a shit?
Let's go.
Meanwhile, I'm drinking water.
Yeah, I'm drinking Coke Zero. So used to be cocaine in Coke back in the day.
There did.
So
yep.
I think everyone knows that at this point. It's literally where the name came
now
from.
There's
yeah, the Coca plant.
Zero Coke.
Coke is better.
Zero Coke Zero is
cocaine in Coke.
Yeah.
When they made Diet Coke, it was literally a different formula. So when the technology came out that they could make regular Coke with just 0 calories and 0 sugar, that's what they called Coke Zero. So Coke Zero is literally just regular Coke without the different formula that they made for Diet Coke when they first made Diet Coke. I watched a 2-hour YouTube video on Coke the other day.
So, anyway, with the Switch 2 stuff, it's obviously interesting because we have like Paul Gale Network now coming out saying that he has some contacts, a developer who said they're really, really excited about making games for this system in a way they never were for Switch. Okay, that's cool. We've also heard from developers, things like they're really impressed by those demos. Like you brought up the ray tracing stuff. Hey, what's neat about the ray tracing thing is it is theoretically possible that it could have better ray tracing because NVIDIA's ray tracing tech is way ahead of AMD's and has been for a long time. But that's just one aspect of things. Ray tracing isn't like graphics and visuals. It's a lighting thing. So sure, you could have better ray tracing, but still have worse visuals. So it all kind of balances out with what possibly could be. I think the excitement is probably that it's close enough that developers are just really happy. Like it's this mobile platform and they're stupidly happy, and it's a lot easier to get their games to run on it. And I think that's probably where a lot of the excitement comes from. But what I thought was interesting with this topic, because obviously I make Switch 2 videos all the time about this, a couple of angles that we could take with it. One of it's the angle that I actually put in the topic name, and that is Nintendo Switch 2 exactly what Nintendo and maybe even the video game industry needs? Because so far, everything around this platform is positive. The only like slight negative is, will there be backwards compatibility? And until we know one way or another, it is what it is. There's even speculation out there now that the camera rumors might be true, because what did Nintendo announce today?
I didn't say what.
You guys didn't see what they announced today?
I told you,
the
I've had a
security
busy
measures.
day.
Yeah, the security.
Yeah.
They added new security features that allow you to use like facial recognition to log into your accounts. And you obviously can't do that on your Switch because there's no camera. But the thing is, if there was a camera on the new one, obviously they could have facial recognition on the new system. So that could be a new security function. Again, it's just speculation that they're going to do that, but it would lend to the, hey, there's a camera on it rumor that's been out there. But that's the thing. Even that's a positive. Like, oh, it would make sense to put a camera on there. Like, people hate having to type their damn passwords to log into the eShop. Cool. We can just use facial recognition. That would be.
You think they'll let you like take a picture of your face and use it as your icon instead of like a Nintendo logo?
That's a
Or
possibility
like
too.
a picture of any part of your body?
I don't think any part. That might.
All right, well, maybe
They need to make it
2
better
for
than
less.
no. They do need to make it better than Threads, though. Okay, so on Threads, it uses your Instagram profile picture or whatever, right? Well, if you are one of the paid members of their thing, which I am, in order to get your profile picture approved, you have to go and submit it through Instagram to get your profile picture approved, which is really stupid. It needs to be approved anyways. And I've been waiting on approval for 2.5 months.
Yeah.
So my profile picture on
That is a
Threads
mess,
is
though.
stuck as a really old picture of me, which I pointed this out to the developers of Threads because they're actually listening to people, like what the complaints are. And I'm like, how about the fact I can't change my effing profile picture?
The fudge are you talking about? I got a completely different picture than my.
Do you pay for Instagram?
No.
That's what I just said. For paid verified business accounts,
Yeah, fair enough.
you have to get manually approved.
Eric, would you please pay attention?
I know. Sorry. Yeah,
Pay
I'll shut up now.
The
I'll shut up
fine
now.
details. Man.
I'll shut up
yes,
now.
all of you other people don't have this as a problem. It's for business accounts that
Makes a
paid
whole lot
business
of
accounts.
fucking sense.
Yeah, it's dumb. It's dumb. And but I'll show you, why do you have a paid business account? I don't know. I should probably cancel at this point because I don't really use Threads anyways. I mean, I shouldn't say that. I still use it once in a while. I log in it every day, but like it's missing so much functionality that I don't want to be on Twitter, to be honest, but just missing functionality. It is what it is. That being said, getting back onto the topic here, what's interesting is that there is, I don't want to say it's an overall negative sentiment to everything else going on in the industry, because obviously it's not. Baldur's Gate 3, massively positive sentiment with that game. Starfield's had a pretty positive reception as well. So gaming wise, like a lot of individual games are doing well. A lot of hype for Spider-Man 2, a lot of hype for obviously the upcoming Mario game. So there's a lot of positives out there, but there also tends to be a lot of negatives happening. Obviously with Xbox, look, we're going to get into the second topic. Xbox is just someone at their company messed up and uploaded a bunch of files. And so they're having a bad time, but they're not just having a bad time because some future stuff got revealed and there was a little, we're going to buy a Nintendo sort of thing. That's fine. We'll talk about that. But they also had some scary stuff come out. Like,
adorably all digital.
Yeah,
no,
that's not the scary part. I mean, that is a little scary. But the Phil Spencer thing that came out where he's like, hey, even if we hit 100 million Game Pass subscribers by 2027, Microsoft might shut us down anyways. And it's like, what? That's like a thing that came out today from these documents. Is like Phil Spencer.
I didn't even see that.
That there's actually a threat for Microsoft to shut down the gaming division, which probably means they'll sell it off. But it was still one of those like revelation moments that like everyone thinks 100 million Game Pass subscribers would be really great. Except Phil Spencer
Why-
just told the people
Why
that were
does
projecting it.
why
it's
does
not-
every major video game company's CEO have 2 first names? Why is that a thing
You think Furukawa is a first name?
for America?
Oh, well, I don't know. I don't pay attention enough.
Jim Ryan, Phil Spencer, Doug Bowser. Come on. Bowser's the first name. You know it. You should know better than anyone.
I think it's just a solo name. I don't know if it's a first or
It's
a
like
last.
Cher.
Oh, God, here we go. Here we go. Anyways, the reason that I sort of named it this way with the is Switch 2 sort of what the industry needs. And I'm just talking from like an excitement perspective, because obviously Xbox has that negative thing come out today, and then people worrying about, oh, they're going all digital, and oh, like we're excited about this future roadmap of games, but then also some of the dates aren't correct. So how much can we really believe this? And there's the Activision Blizzard stuff. And that's still not locked down, although we might have a positive update, at least for Microsoft's side of things next week. For PlayStation fans, I think it's all negative. And then obviously PlayStation 5 is actually selling really, really well, and the number one seller month over month, in most of the world besides Japan. But and they're hitting their middle generation stride, right? And people are really looking forward to Spider-Man 2, but they haven't really been super consistent in exciting their fans. A lot of their state of plays, as an example, kind of leave a sour taste in some people's mouths. Maybe it's because they expect them to be something that they're not. I think the state of plays have been wildly consistent with what they are, but I guess some people want them to be something different.
Are we going to address that and the Nintendo Direct later in the show?
Well, the Direct we're talking about later, yeah. Yeah, I mean, we could bring it up. We could bring it up in this conversation in terms of set. You know what? No, let's save that for the Nintendo Direct, because
just to compare the state of play, because it was the same day and stuff. I don't know.
Yeah. We could do that during the Direct section. Absolutely. Yep. And they did the same thing last year too. They were on the same day in September. Maybe it's going to be a habit. Maybe it's going to be on the same day every year from moving forward. Who knows? Little gamer Christmas in the middle of September.
I like it. It is fun.
Anyways, but there doesn't seem to be as much buzz around PlayStation 5 as there once was, unless you pay really close attention to PlayStation 5 specific channels. Like if you go to general gaming outlets, it's just sort of like we talk about Spider-Man 2, and then that's about it, which, by the way, was sort of true for Switch this year for a while. It was Tears of the Kingdom, where we don't talk about Switch. So Switch even had that sort of lull happen. So I don't think that this is necessarily that there's anything wholly negative with any of the three major companies, but I'm noticing that there doesn't seem to be a lot of excitement when people talk about the companies until Switch 2 stuff comes out of people's mouths. And they go, can you imagine if the rumors are right? And that's pretty much where it sits. So what are you guys thinking about this idea that like maybe the industry could use a little jolt of Nintendo kicking ass? Or am I just biased as shit and I should just go jump in this fire behind me?
No. I mean, absolutely. Like, who wouldn't want that? Like, I think the Switch 2 is going to be awesome. I think we've talked about this before. You've talked about this many times. I know you've talked about this, Andres, but Nintendo really bad at transitions between a successful console and the next console. They always are like hit, miss, and they are hyper aware of that. And I think that they have prepared for this moment basically during the entire Switch's life cycle. And I think they're ready. I think they have a solid game plan, and I think they're ready to really blow us away. And I'm excited for it. I have, a lot of times with Nintendo stuff, and when they reboot certain franchises, I'll be slightly nervous, but I'm not nervous about this at all. Like, I just feel really good about it. I'm excited. I think we're all gonna like what Nintendo does, and it might not be perfect, and we're gonna talk about later whether they're gonna actually make Metroid Prime 4 a launch title or not. But whatever they choose, even if it's something that in our heads we might not think is ideal, like, I do trust them on this. I think they're gonna do a good job, and they've strengthened all the partnerships they had that basically died during the Wii U era. They've brought them back, they've strengthened them, and they've got new ones like Activision, I guess Microsoft, heading into the Switch 2. So I'm really excited, and I think we definitely need this, because ever since the Series X and the PS5 came out, everyone's been like, "Where's the games?" It feels like it doesn't feel like a new generation.
I was trying, like, I don't want to talk negative about PS5, but it is kind of like they're
No,
like,
but you're absolutely right. It's felt
isn't there.
like we're not really in a new generation. And I think Nintendo is going to do this right, where it's going to be like, even if it's backwards compatible, like we don't know if it is, but
Yeah.
it's going to feel like a new generation. It's going to feel like a clear point, and I think like everyone in general is just craving that, like gamers.
Yeah, I mean, like
Well,
like there'll be, as an example, Nintendo's probably gonna do what they always do. There's gonna be probably a day one launch exclusive, and like, and Sony technically did that, but it was that wasn't their biggest game at launch. That was
It was a remake.
yeah, it was a remake, and their exclusive at launch was really Miles Morales. That was cross gen, and I don't. And by the way, cross gen can work. It worked for Switch, right? But we quickly got exclusive after that. So
Also,
I
it
think
was
that Nintendo,
basically an exclusive because Wii was dead.
well, yeah, I mean, there's that as well. But
Yeah.
but the point is that technically it was on another platform. I don't think like if a 3D Mario is a launch game, it's on Switch at all. I think it's just straight up going to be on there. Nintendo has always had this thing where they believe that games sell systems, so they've heavily believed in exclusive, and I don't think they're going to go.
I'm gonna butt in here. Right, I'm not saying I disagree with you. I wholeheartedly agree 3D Mario is going to be exclusive, and I do agree with the philosophy. But I just want to note that while Nintendo may have been that way in the past, that doesn't mean that's how they're going to be in the future, because philosophies change. They need to adapt, things of that sort, right? So a lot of people have considered that maybe Nintendo may adopt something more of how PlayStation has handled things. I mean, and you've suggested that Nintendo may adopt a few different PlayStation strategies. I'm not saying that means that there's going to be less exclusives at launch. I'm simply playing devil's advocate because we don't know that for a fact.
Yeah,
I still think 3D Mario's switched to exclusive though.
One thing I've been very consistent about with the PlayStation strategies, it was all about releasing big games on Switch all the way up till the system came out. I don't really believe Nintendo's going to go with tons and tons of cross-gen titles. I think I think what happened, and there's a negative side to that, and that's what we're seeing now, where people think we're not really even in the next gen, even though we're 3 years into this system being out. PlayStation 5, and it still doesn't really feel like we've even began next generation. You're 3 years in, you still don't feel that way? No, because you can just play everything on PS4 for the most part. So I kind of think that was the one part of the strategy Nintendo wouldn't do, because they do believe in that exclusives matter, and Nintendo has one advantage Sony doesn't, and that is just how evergreen their damn games are. They don't need a big install base at launch to release a game that's going to sell for 5 years. Like it's Nintendo's crazy.
That's a good point.
Situation.
Like they don't have to worry about losing out on potential sales. Because
launching with 3D Mario, it could still sell 30 million if the system keeps going. Like they're not worried about it.
And so we kind of talked about this last week, and maybe this is me doing a minor victory lap. I was wrong on some things too, so I don't want to be super cocky here. But I was arguing that the kind of line that we may see next year in the first half, it's going to be consistent games, but maybe none of the games are going to be like the biggest titles, but it's going to be quality stuff, right? And we look at how Nintendo sort of has lined up the first quarter of next year. It's the Another Code remaster collection, and then we have in February a Game Boy Advance remake, and in March we have a brand new original Peach game, right? And that's probably like the biggest title. And then they announced 2 more games.
In terms of new titles, for sure.
Yeah, well, okay. They announced 1 more game, but they gave us a title confirmation for Luigi's Mansion 2 HD, right? That's coming out summer. And then they revealed Paper Mario: The Origami King, which, by the way, right, I've been talking about the
1,000-year door.
Yes, thank you.
Okay.
Yes,
I'm following you.
but it was a Freudian slip, because what I was trying to get at is that 1,000-Year Door is a remake. Some people have been calling this a remaster. It is a remake. It is made with the Origami King engine. Like, this is like an ambitious remake. And what's interesting about it is that we kind of talked about how what was a Demon Souls that they PlayStation 5 launched with the Demon Souls remake. The Origami King remake, you could argue. I keep saying Origami King. 1,000-Year Door.
Yeah, right? Let's not insult. The Origami King's a good game.
No.
But it ain't no 1,000-Year Door.
Let me. I love Origami King. Okay, so
it's actually
I love
a pretty
Origami
good
King.
game.
But I fully acknowledge the Thousand Year Door is the universally accepted like best Paper Mario game in the series, right? And I'm looking
One of the
forward to
best
playing
Nintendo
that
ever.
on Switch. But what I'm simply getting, yeah, it's one of the greatest games they've ever made. And it's going to be really great, and it's actually even more exciting when you consider that it's not just a remaster. This is a full-on, full-blown remake, like completely new art style. It's running on the same engine as Origami King, but like they're putting all this out. There's new animations, there's all this stuff. And what I'm getting at here is that's another high quality game they have coming out next year. And when you
But
consider
not a new
PlayStation
game
5's
again.
not technically
so, like,
technically not a new game.
That's what I mean. There's a lot that I'm excited for, but like Princess Peach is by far the best, like brand new. Like, because it's not. I don't want to put it down by saying it's not new when it is a remake. Like that, a lot of effort is put into that. But that's just the distinction that I'm trying to make.
Yeah. I mean, we have 5 games confirmed that are being published by Nintendo for next year, and 80% of them are either a remake or remaster to some effect. Regardless, though, like they have a lineup, right? Like, and I think we have plenty of reason to believe that we're going to pretty much have a game almost every single month, if not every single month, going into Switch 2. Like, if we all believe Switch 2 is coming out sometime next year, like I think Nintendo's done a good job of at least assuring us that there's not going to be a drought, as there has been in prior generations. It may not be the AAA Metroid Prime 4 or a 3D open world Donkey Kong game to come out right before Switch 2, but there are still games to play and enjoy throughout the year.
Yeah, and while I don't love that, one thing I do like about it is it will make it feel, again, what I was just talking about, like it's a new generation when the Switch 2 comes. When we finally start getting like actual brand new games. So you're right, it'll keep it going so there's not a drought, but at the same time it'll be a clear division when those next gen games start coming out. And I think Nintendo really has the sweet spot on the other consoles in terms of when they release their consoles. I think the fact that the Wii U failed and they had to release the Switch a few years in has really put them on the right like path in terms of when their new consoles come out to make it actually next gen.
Also to note, I was doing this in research on another video that I did. It's interesting that people always talk about like, oh, Nintendo usually releases their platforms, holiday season. And I sat there and actually did the research. They haven't released like a November console that often. September is actually the most popular month that they launch hardware. Like it's not even close. And then March is like the second. So even like them launching Switch in March, it wasn't the first time. They've launched 2 other platforms in March. So it's interesting, like looking at Nintendo. I mean, again, you're looking at Nintendo's history to predict what they're going to do in the future.
But are you counting revisions?
No, brand new releases. So Game Boy, DS, 3DS. I'm not counting revision releases. I mean, you could count revision releases if people want. But I was just looking at actual launches of each new iteration, like not new, each new generation, handheld and home console. It turned out that it was September, had like 3 or 4, and there was like 2 or 3 in March. I think 2 in November, and the 2 in November were like Wii and DS. Maybe it wasn't DS. It was Wii and something else. Was in November, but it was really interesting just seeing that. Dude, they weren't launching their systems in November like people would assume that Nintendo always does. It's actually not that common. What's up?
I'm just looking at the dates for home consoles. November has been the most popular month. But for handhelds, well, Wii U came out in November. Wii U came out in November. Wii came out in November. GameCube came out in November. Nintendo 64 came out in June. SNES came out in November. Famicom came out July. Now,
well, the GameCube and the Wii U sold really well, so I think that's a good sign for November.
Well, NES came out in July. I should clarify, because there was different releases.
Like, I can understand Nate probably just dismissed the systems that didn't sell very well, so it's okay.
No, I said that as hope for March.
Right.
Yeah. Anyways, it's just interesting thinking about what they're going to do with this system. And as I said, like looking at Nintendo's past to determine their future is really difficult when it's a whole new regime sort of running things at the moment. I guess not a whole new, but at least a new president making those decisions. We'll get into the Nintendo Direct a little later, but it does sort of feel like, you know, they do have a solid slate of at least releases that can hopefully keep people interested. Like the biggest thing is this is what Nintendo's had their biggest problem with transitions. It's not even just making sure the next system appeals. That's one thing. Like having an appealing system people actually want to buy and
You mean
having
like a Donkey Kong edition?
Sure.
Because it's appealing.
Yeah. But then also having a lineup of games in the first 6 months that people really want to buy the system to play. Because ultimately, people aren't going to buy a system if there's nothing to play. Then again, I'm going to leave it alone because for some reason people buy other systems and just play games they already have. So I don't, you know what? For some reason, they just don't do that with Nintendo typically.
Can I just say real quick that now that I said that, if they do have that actual 3D Donkey Kong game for Switch 2, I hope this first special edition is one with banana Joy-Cons.
Dude, that'd be cool.
Here we go.
I would like to hold the bananas.
What if you could peel them?
Dude, the way the prototype looks, they have like those like casings on them. Did you know what I'm talking about?
Yes, I know what you're talking
about.
That
would be amazing.
I was just joking, but
are you joking me or you're stroking me? I'll take either one.
I'm definitely not stroking you. Whew. I can confirm.
Okay. All right, you're joking. It's fine.
So no, look, that's the one thing it does look like Nintendo is at least attempting to fix is when they transition, they've always like just stopped releasing games. There'll be like maybe one, and not even just remakes and remasters, like just one. Like here's a game. And this time around, they're like, no, we're gonna have a more consistent cadence of releases to keep not only us selling games and making money while we're waiting to release the new platform, it also keeps engaging the audience they already built on Switch. And that was one thing that every time they transition, they sort of stop engaging that audience and just say, oh, just wait 6 months for the next thing. And it's like, but then people lose interest because there's 6 months and then they couldn't get it at launch and they're frustrated and couldn't get their pre-order in. And then they're like, oh, do I really even need this thing anyways? And then, it can really hurt and lessen that demand. Now, there's obviously more that goes into it than just letting that audience just sit there and not have anything to play.
Well, you also have their subscribers, right? All the NSO users. Like you want to keep people
and that's a new thing
paying for that. Like it's not. Oh God, damn lights.
Do you think Switch 2 launches with GameCube on NSO?
No.
No, I don't think
it's tough because they want to resell a lot of those games. Like, what would there even be?
Oh, I mean, I think it's what it already is. They're using all the GameCube games as brand
I have
new
an
releases.
idea. When they advertise this system, they will say that there will be exclusive platforms on Switch 2 that aren't on Switch, and it won't be their own at first. Like maybe they add GameCube someday.
If they did DS or 3DS, that alone would be.
They could do DS or 3DS, but I think they're going to do something else. Dreamcast. They partnered with Sega and got Dreamcast to be.
Casual gamers won't care about Dreamcast.
It's not about the casuals at launch.
Well, you know,
ain't about the casuals at launch.
You know, be another really cool surprise platform. Xbox OG.
Look. We can hope.
Hey, listen, man. Phil Spencer's got to smooth out.
Just put Rare Replay on there.
We're gonna talk about that a little bit. He's got nothing to smooth out. Nothing he does even affects Nintendo. It's either give us.
I think they probably don't care. I think it's pretty much a nothing burger for them. Nintendo knows everyone wants to buy them. It's not really
and literally, we'll get to it later. But literally, like he in the email, he literally said, "I met with Nintendo to talk about buying them," and that didn't really go well. So,
wait. Here's a kind of a left field hypothetical for you guys. Do you think, given the number of dormant Microsoft-owned franchises at this point, and the fact that, I mean, especially after the leaked emails, Phil Spencer obviously wants in a good relationship with Nintendo, do you think they would ever sign off on making Banjo 3E as a Switch 2 exclusive?
So actually,
No one would buy it on Xbox if it came out on
Um,
Xbox and
so,
Switch.
there is supposedly a Banjo-Kazooie project in the works.
What?
That is, yeah, there is.
Where?
We don't.
Wait, whoa! It's like
You didn't
breaking
know
news
that?
to me. No,
It,
what?
it's been a it's been a thing.
Where?
been a
Where's
thing.
this been a thing?
I'll have to find the source on it, but it's been a thing.
I'm surprised we didn't see it in the leak if it's been a
Dude,
thing.
I would have made
Well-
this entire podcast about that thing if I knew.
It's not new. It's not new information.
I don't
It's
care.
not new information. I'm not saying it's coming to Switch. It may even be canceled, right? But supposedly they've been working on a Banjo. Microsoft's been working on something Banjo-Kazooie. But what's interesting is that
Eric's
this
like, I can't.
this relationship between Nintendo and Microsoft is, I mean, they have a good relationship. They, there are Microsoft published games coming out on Nintendo. I mean, we're talking about this this whole Call of Duty thing. Like Nintendo and Microsoft work really well together. And if there's anything that I actually take away from this email from Phil Spencer that's actually relevant, just my personal point of view, I don't care about this Phil Spencer email about them buying Nintendo. Like it's of course they want to. It doesn't mean anything. But he does talk about how they have Nintendo and Microsoft have a strong relationship, and he was talking about how if there's any company in the West that can work closely with Nintendo, it's them. I believe that. So that dream-like scenario where Nintendo and Microsoft maybe do have some level of collaboration on a Banjo-Kazooie, it's not as much of a stretch as you might think. I'm not saying it's for sure happening. The Banjo-Kazooie project may never even materialize. But supposedly there is a project in the works, and Nintendo and Microsoft work really well together. And yes, Banjo-Kazooie would have sold better on the Switch. That's like a fact.
I could
Well, I
see
mean,
like a timed exclusive on Switch too.
projected. What?
If they did bring one out, I could see a timed exclusive.
I don't know about that.
Yeah,
I think it would be
I don't know.
just like
I don't know.
come
I
out
don't
for
know
both.
if they necessarily want to not
Well,
put it on like Game
yeah.
Pass or something, but
I
eventually.
think it would just come out for both. I don't think it would come out for. I don't see a scenario where it ever comes out first on a Nintendo system, but I think best case scenario comes out at the same time. That's like that's just my opinion.
Yeah. No.
Yeah.
It's interesting. I guess.
Well, what I'm getting out of these leaks,
Someone asked in the chat earlier what my dream Nintendo Switch 2 game would be, and as far-fetched as it is, if Microsoft developed a Banjo 3 for Switch, that might be it.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I would be
I'll even
very
take a
excited for
Banjo
that.
remake. But yeah, Banjo 3 would be sick.
If they did 1 and 2 and they added the stuff that they cut out of the original one on the N64, you know how it was supposed to interact with 2? And there was all that stuff that was like, if they like did it with everything in it, that would be really cool.
I'm all for it.
Yeah.
So Eric, what were you gonna say?
Oh no! If a lot of these leaks and rumors are true, what I'm hearing is that the Nintendo Switch is going to get a Nintendo Switch effect. You look at Legend of Zelda, the 2 best-selling games of that series is on there. Mario, the best-selling Mario game is on the Switch. So we're looking like, we're making everything bigger and better. So this new Switch is going to be Switch effect, and it's going to be an even better Switch and just blow people's minds. And then which will then amplify the Switch effect. It's just the Switch effect is going to take over the world. Yes.
Yeah. So this might be a nice time to transition to that next topic about that Xbox bullshit. There's a bunch of look. If you haven't seen any of the Xbox news out there, even as Nintendo fans, then you probably just haven't been paying attention. Don't worry, we got the Nintendo Direct coming up next. So we started Switch 2, going to Xbox, and turn this all back around, and with the Nintendo Direct stuff. But what's interesting about the Xbox situation is one of their own employees leaked the files, accidentally. By the way, it wasn't like they were being mad. Like no, they uploaded it to the wrong place on the government website, which led to them becoming public. So there's that. Yeah, they probably lost their job. I have no idea. It's a pretty bad thing because they leaked a lot of stuff. Obviously, we could just start with what Andres really had us at, that email about Phil Spencer wanting to buy Nintendo. I don't think it's that big of news in terms of like he wanted to buy Nintendo. Some of the
How old was that email, by the way? I was pretty old, right?
Middle of
2020.
2020. Yeah. Yeah. So what's interesting, there's two parts of it that's interesting. One, people wondering if he was colluding a little bit with that one company to buy shares of Nintendo to sort of pressure them. The funny thing is that company almost owns no more shares of them anymore. They practically sold them all off. So it is what it is. It ended up being a big nothing burger anyways. But you just talked about the possibility that maybe he could get on the phone with him and be like, hey, buy some more shares and pressure Nintendo. And, then obviously bringing up the whole hostile takeover thing. He never was going to do it, but the reason he didn't want to do it is because he knew it would be perceived really bad. Most hostile takeovers are not perceived very well by the public. This one in particular, Nintendo fans might boycott just because it was a hostile takeover. And then the only really other interesting thing I thought in all of it was that he said that they were playing the long game. It would be a career move, which, yeah, sure, it would be. But that when he said Nintendo doesn't realize it yet, but their future isn't on their own hardware. And that's a line that I think got people because I don't know if Microsoft has realized it yet, but their future isn't on their own hardware as they can't seem to sell the damn shit.
Exactly. Yeah. That's so
dumbass comment.
the lack of self-awareness. Like
in 2020, by the way, when
Nintendo is the only company that's
$28 million
innovating in terms
or
of
$20
hardware.
million.
When PCs are starting to take over more and more.
Yeah.
And all these consoles aren't differentiating themselves other than they work on the TV better than working on a monitor. Nintendo's the only one that's doing something that like is going to make their hardware last past that. They're the only ones.
And Nintendo's
in
been
fairness to Microsoft, they did have some cool Kinect stuff that didn't pan out, but
sure,
it's not like Microsoft hasn't tried.
Yeah,
you
where
could
did they get
argue
the
their
idea for
controller's
Kinect
pretty
from?
impressive too.
Where did they get the idea for Kinect from? But like that, here's the thing.
Yeah, but there's also the controller accessibility options. Like I absolutely agree Nintendo is the most innovative of the three, but I'm defending Microsoft a little in saying that they do innovate to some extent. They have made like
that's cool. Phil Spencer's not going to sleep with you.
Sorry. No. So
I'm not interested.
It wasn't even about innovation for
honestly.
me. Okay, it's
that would be very bad.
No,
that would be. Okay, hold on. I'll say the email and the way it's written, it sounds kind of creepy. Like it sounds kind of like a dude who thinks he's gonna get a girl because he's just like a trust fund baby and thinks he gets everything he wants, but doesn't actually know what's going on and can get kind of creepy. That's kind of the vibe I got from Phil Spencer. So thank you for mentioning that he may want to sleep with me because that makes me even more uncomfortable.
Oh, perfect.
Yeah. Perfect. So what I thought is interesting is when he made that comment about like their future isn't in hardware or on their own hardware, I kept thinking like it's not really about the innovations even. It's that how many 100 million unit consoles have you sold? Microsoft? Oh, none?
0.
Oh, well, Nintendo's on their third in like the last 15 years. Can we just like be honest for a moment? Nintendo is massively successful. Yeah, sometimes their systems bomb, but they always come back. And Microsoft has had one generation where they sold 80 million, and even then
they finished third.
They still finished third. So Microsoft has a huge problem consistently selling hardware. At least Nintendo, like when they have a down gen, they bounce back. So for me, it was always sort of a interesting perspective to say their future isn't on their own hardware, especially also when they're the only ones doing dedicated handheld hardware. That is a massive market that they just dominate and control.
Mm-hmm.
What's up, Andres?
Permission to insult one of your viewers?
Well, we don't insult others, but
they insulted me.
well, then you just tell me.
He's really asking permission to defend himself.
That's what I'm doing.
Oh, we'll read the comments and then I'll tell you.
All right, okay. Jet Moses, Microsoft doesn't innovate. Laugh emoji, laugh emoji, laugh emoji. This dude's a clown. So you're wrong because literally I was talking about the Xbox controller offering more accessibility options. Like they do more for disabled gamers than Nintendo and Sony do. So you saying that I'm a clown for saying that just kind of makes you an ass. So there you go.
Whew. Fair enough.
Oofta.
Can't believe you just said that about Moses, bro.
I try not to attack people, so I'm just gonna leave it alone. They're allowed to attack me. I don't care. I'm a dumbass. We've already established that I'm a dumbass. Did we not see what happened on the last podcast when Andres was busy owning my ass about Metroid? And then
Can I just take this opportunity to ask
something?
something that I've been thinking about this entire time?
This is a problem, but sure.
Do you think Link's hand that gets like taken over, like when he touches his own body, it feels like someone else? All right, I'm sorry.
The stranger. Yeah.
All right, let's move on.
Oh boy.
Next thing you know, we're gonna be talking about Dead Hand and anyways. So but more than just obviously that email, which is, I mean, do you guys have any other additional thoughts on it? It's just like, it's not shocking. It is a little creepy, but also nothing really happened, like, at all.
Well, I mean, with how much pushback they've already gotten from just buying Activision Blizzard.
Well, that's the thing. This is before they even bought ZeniMax yet. They hadn't even bought them yet.
Right. But now, I mean, now it's almost going to be impossible. There's going to be so much pushback.
The regulators would never approve it.
There would be so much pushback.
They'd never approve it.
Right. I mean, just because they want to doesn't mean
let's
they're going to be allowed
eliminate a competitor. Yeah,
right.
Regulators are going to totally approve that.
Yeah. So it's one of those kind of nothing burgers just because of that aspect. I mean, with how much pushback they've gotten just from Activision Blizzard now.
Yeah. And one thing
to take out one of the major three is
sure.
No.
One thing I forgot to put on here too is there was an email from Aaron Greenberg where he's like, "Hey, can we stop calling Switch a console, please? Like, I'm just requesting, can we stop calling it? I think people are getting confused because it has Ori and Minecraft, and they're getting it. They're confusing. Can we just stop calling it a console? By the way, Microsoft never publicly stopped calling the Nintendo Switch a console. This was just a request from their head of marketing, like, hey, can we just not do it because he thinks it's a bad idea for Xbox's marketing? Phil Spencer obviously never agreed, but of course, then Phil Spencer was also wanting to buy Nintendo. So, but it is kind of interesting because that was one of the sticking points in the FTC versus Microsoft case, was them saying Switch is a console. It is a competitor. And yet internally, their head of marketing was like, can we stop calling it that, please? By the way, kind of irrelevant because Nintendo's been calling it a console. Actually, to be fair, a home console since day one, and they still call it a home console to this day.
What do you call it?
I call it a hybrid.
All right, so but I mean, it's still a console. Is it when you
I-
is it
I'd
the
say
implication that a
more towards
console is
console.
or a handheld or a home? It's still a console. Like that. Part
right?
was-
Right.
yeah.
So I guess what I'm asking is that they just don't want it to imply that it's a
a home
direct
console.
competitor, I guess. Like,
Yeah, they wanted to imply that it's like a side thing. Yeah. That was just their head of marketing wanted to do that, which I think it was because they were worried consumers would be confused because Xbox games are on it.
I do want to speak on something that is maybe somewhat interesting. So like the fact that this stuff got out and we're kind of seeing a lot of information. It's like a lot of internal stuff. Like from what I've experienced from other big companies, I will not name. I think I technically am not allowed to name, so even more reason for me not to say anything in terms of who the company is. But I'll tell you that there was a big company I worked for, and like a big company. Okay. And there was a day
know what he's talking about.
where an email was sent out to literally everyone in the company. And this email was not intended for everyone. It was intended for a select few people. And this email included a long list of people that were going to be put to be terminated or put in a position to be terminated. And
oh boy, that sounds like a lawsuit.
Oh, and literally, and so all these people that were on this list to be terminated were like the supervisors for all their groups of a whole bunch of other people, right? So like, it's kind of like for perspective, like imagine you're in school and you find out your teacher's about to be fired before your teacher knows. And then your teacher comes into class and everyone's talking about it. That's what happened for dozens of people in the company. And the reason it happened is because the person in charge is sending that list to a select few people, clicked a couple incorrect buttons, and sent out a mass email to the entire company, which doesn't sound too different from how all this information that was meant to be internal stuff was sent out to the world.
Yeah, it was just uploaded to
yeah.
the wrong spot on the website. So it became
And what's also interesting is that when we take a look at some of the marketing material, I call it marketing materials, but like when they show like the cylindrical Xbox, it almost looks like it's like an ad. It's probably because it was designed to be showcased to a larger group of people, but within the company.
yeah.
Which is why it looks like marketing material, because they're marketing it to other people in the company.
I'm sorry, you guys.
No, you're good.
I was just wondering, do you think they're gonna call it the X cylinder instead of the Xbox?
I have no
No.
idea.
Dude,
It's
come on.
not a box. You can't say that
It's the
anymore.
X2.
No.
You're not.
Don't type that in.
That's illegal for you to say that. You're not allowed.
To say
Hold on a
X2?
second. All right, so here's a funny
The
question:
X2.
is a cylinder not a box?
No, it's a cylinder.
All right,
No,
so
it's the
have
Xbox
you
edition.
have you
A
never
box
not
is a
have you not ever seen a
parallelogram.
round box?
It's not round.
Are you telling me that round boxes don't exist?
No, you wouldn't.
Are you sure?
Well, so
it
do
would-
you,
no,
what do
they're
you call it?
cylinders.
You call it a cylinder box? What do you call it?
Still a box.
There are round boxes.
Google,
So what do you
Google
call
round
it?
box.
Well, if it's a
There's a
physical,
whole
like,
bunch of them,
cardboard
and
box,
they're
it can be any
cylinders.
shape and still be a box. But what you would actually call that shape,
So why
is a
can't they
cylinder.
just say, "Hey, this is our
no
console"?
one
we
would
define
see
what
a
box is."
cylinder in a 3D like shape and be like, "Oh, that's a box."
But you just said, "Oh, well, it's different when it's made out of cardboard. We call it all a box." Well,
Well, I hope the
by
new
way-
Xbox console is made out of cardboard. You can prove me
well, here's
wrong.
the thing. No. Microsoft invented the term Xbox, which means a box is whatever they tell you it is. It's their term.
Box existed before Microsoft. The
But this
term
isn't a box; it's an Xbox.
But it's not. It's not shaped like an X or a box.
But you just said if it's made out of cardboard, suddenly it doesn't matter what shape it is.
That's
So
the
why
thing.
are
If
we
it's out of
choosing-
cardboard, I'll
Why are
have
we
no
picking and
qualms.
choosing?
I won't
what-
have any qualms if it's made out of cardboard.
But they still call it a box. Is what I'm saying. They literally still call boxes that aren't square and rectangle.
Yeah,
They still
a
call
box
it
of shit. I'm sorry.
It's a box.
By the way,
It's
I
a
don't even know
round
what the
box.
definition of box is. I've never
Maybe they're
even
gonna call it
never once in
Xbox
my life looked
round.
at
I
the
don't know.
definition of
Yeah.
box.
Well, I guess they're thinking out of the box.
Oh, okay.
I'm literally
actually,
for the first time ever
I
looking
got
at
it.
the
You ready?
definition
You
of
ready?
box.
Well, I mean,
All right,
technically,
I got a theory for
Is
the
it
name.
just
You
something
ready?
put something in?
What?
You guys
Go
ready?
ahead.
Here it is. Xbox Series, because it's still the generation. Xbox Series O. You got Xbox Series X,
by
Xbox
the
Series
way,
S, Xbox Series O.
We're Jake, you're just wrong. According
What's
to
your
the
opinion?
dictionary, a box is just a container with a flat base that has sides. That's it.
Typically square.
Typically square, but
A
doesn't have to
circle
be.
isn't sides. It's a singular. It's a side because it's all
It-
connected. That's not sides. That's
But what about the top?
The
top part of it's a
cylinder
side.
can be a box.
That's
A
not the side.
circle
That's the top.
itself, no.
There's a top and bottom and a side.
It's all
Perfect
based off
sphere is
perspective.
not a box.
Also,
And
do we know for
there's
a
a-
fact that the Xbox Series O
There's
doesn't
the
have a
top,
flat
and then
back?
there's the side.
It might have.
And then
I
all
think
the
it
way
might have a
around.
as
flat
a
back.
verb.
Oh,
If you
boy.
use it as a
Every-
verb, it just
just
means
one
to
side.
put in.
What are we doing?
If it's a verb, you just put it in. I'm just saying. Depends-
I-
I don't
Yeah.
even want to know.
I want to double check because I have a
Wait,
feeling
so
that
wait.
the Xbox.
So hold on. How many sides are
cylinder.
there to a dice?
6.
Okay, but one side's always facing up, so how can that be a side?
Yeah,
One
so
side's always on the
there's-
bottom too.
All right,
How's it
top,
a side?
bottom, 4 sides.
Yeah.
No,
We're
you're
covering
right. You're
some
right. You're right.
serious
You're right.
philosophical ground here,
Yeah.
boys.
That's why I'm saying the top is still a side. It's just not what we typically refer to. Like we say side, we're thinking the side of something, but the sides are all the parts of it, actually, all around. The bottom is technically also a side, basically. But what they're saying is the bottom has to be flat. That's their definition.
Bill the Pickle respectfully disagrees.
That's all right. I like dill pickles.
Thank you. My name's Dylan. Dill for short. My friends call me Dill the Pickle.
Ah,
Cool.
I
The
did not-
2-inch
I
destroyer's now been
did
explained.
not even
All right.
realize.
I'm both. I'm
Nice.
Reed, okay?
Very nice.
Daniel.
Awesome. But there's so we brought up the system, right? Like, isn't it weird that so there's two systems that were brought up. The Series S one's less exciting to talk about. It's mostly what they have now, just with some different power stuff and one different part of on the IO. But when we look at what they call Brooklyn, that's the code name for it. That cylindrical new Xbox is 2 terabytes, no disk drive, and apparently it's adorably all digital.
That was I can't even talk about it. You go ahead.
Again, internal marketing.
I know. They were never going to say this publicly. You would never use it public marketing, calling something all digital, telling everyone you can no longer use physical games and call it adorable.
I also think that the back is not round.
My only hope.
Oh, that's your opinion.
Well, it could be. I don't know. We didn't really see the back.
We don't know. I think it's hard to tell.
What
but
I will
this
say,
may not be a final design.
Yeah. What I will say though is my only hope is when they release this, they don't discontinue the normal Xbox Series X in a year. I'm afraid they're going to do it because it costs the same price.
So no, they're going to. They don't want any.
Yeah, I know that's what I'm afraid of, because what that means then is 100% they're all digital moving forward. Which
they've been trying to do this
with Game
since
Pass
2013 when they made that initial announcement that the Xbox. Yeah,
it doesn't mean I want it to happen.
When the Xbox One
I don't want it to
out
happen either. But you know what is a lot of like younger gamers, like anyone in their 30s and above, I think wants to keep digital. But we're starting to get to the point where it's like almost everyone in their 20s doesn't care. And that's kind of scary. And the industry loves that.
So here's what I will say. And I've been saying this about PlayStation and Xbox since probably, when did they start having installs?
Right, look at this guy in the chat. All digital is good for the planet. Get out of here.
So Xbox One. So Xbox One and PS4 were the first systems that required installs, right, from on home consoles.
I'm just kidding, Crunchy. I love you.
You had to install your games on internal storage. I always thought since that happened, the days of those particular companies going to all digital were just a matter of time. Because look, why are PC games basically it's all digital all the time? We got rid of disk drives a long time ago because you have to install the damn thing on your hard drive anyway. So you're not even saving space. So, when the disk just becomes an unlock key, people kind of stop caring as much and start going towards the convenience of just download and install, since you have to do it anyways. Andres, you can.
Wait. Can I just say one thing?
Not. It's my show and I'm being overridden on who I tag in.
No. It's just what you just said. You said download and install because you have to do it anyways. I just want to say one thing because it's like I've seen a lot of people getting this wrong lately, and I know but like you don't have to download and install. You just have to install when the game is on the disc. You can be completely offline.
Patches anymore? They got rid of those?
No. Those still exist, but if a game is completely on the disc, which Microsoft does fake physical releases sometimes, and the game's not all there, and you have to download. But even on games where there's a day one patch, there is a version of the game that you can just put in your console and install. And install and download is not the same.
Yeah, I was saying that since you have to install anyways, people will just go to download and install instead. The days were numbered. It happened with PC. It went away on PC because you had to install the damn games. So if you have to sit there and install the game, and it's on your computer, and all the disc is like, oh, you just have to have the disc in for the game to recognize you own the game.
Well, you're always going to have to install now because you have to run the game off of SSD. It'll load screens would be like 20 minutes instead of 20 seconds if you actually ran the game off a disc this generation.
It's almost like Nintendo sticking with cartridges was a better design for physical.
I love that they did that.
It's almost like there was the one benefit of cartridges is that you can put the super fast memory just on the damn cartridge.
Exactly.
Now, granted, load times are still long.
Is the companies that are going to start working with them again, like Activision, aren't going to want to pay for cartridges.
Yeah,
but I guess we already see that. We already see that a lot with like EA and stuff.
Yeah, and you know what? It don't matter because Nintendo locked in the 10-year deal, baby. Too effing bad, mother. Too bad. I was not ready for that bleep button. Anyways, Andres, are you still want to get tagged in, or are you just done? Just gave up.
No, that's fine. I got insulted again by another viewer. I
Oh my
defending myself.
You gotta stop caring what people say, man.
I
Stop caring.
I don't even know what was said. So Luigi's
I don't even
therapist
read
said,
the chat during podcasts. Like
No.
it's just
So,
not worth. By
Luigi,
the way,
someone's
love
gotta
you
do it.
guys. You want my attention? You super chat. Come Q&A section.
Maybe that's what it is, though. They know that I'll pay attention. They call me an
Yeah,
idiot.
they're trying to get to you.
Yeah, that's what it is.
They're trying
But
to get to you.
I'm pretty sure I'm correct on this, so I'm not sure why I'm an idiot. But Luigi's therapist said, "I love you, Andre," which I doubt, but it's okay. But your argument about what is a cylinder versus a box is idiotic. Then I don't know what you were saying, but like literally, I think I was objectively correct on what a box is. So I don't.
I think
A cylinder
I
can't
think
be a
that
box.
whole conversation we
It's a
were all
container
telling
that
each
holds
other, and it was
things.
a joke. So I think they were just trying to chime
Yeah,
in.
people took that too serious. It was literally just
The
a
box is just a fun philosophical
It was just a joke,
conversation. Like,
man.
what do you
None of
define
us
as a box?
actually give a shit.
Right, because like the thing is, no one actually thinks of a box as a round object, but that's why it's funny. Anyway,
Anyways.
I did want to. There was something that was actually relevant to the conversation I wanted to bring up. I'm trying to remember. I think I forgot. I got too caught up with the whole box thing.
I see.
Yeah.
You got to think outside the box, Andres.
Yeah. And the only other thing I wanted to bring up from the Xbox stuff, and
or
more
around the box because it's a cylinder.
Because I apparently it was like near 1,000 pages of stuff, so like people are still going through it. But the thing that was brought up today was about Game Pass, and like there was a meeting where there was they got together for marketing, and we found this out through the emails about the future of Game Pass and getting to 100 million subscribers and stuff by like 2030. And they had a graphic for it showing like the percentage of it that's home console, the percentage of it that's PC, the percentage of it that's cloud. And in the emails, Phil Spencer's like, dude, if we're even at that at 2027, Microsoft might just sell off the Xbox division. Like we're just done. Which, by the way, this also predates the Activision Blizzard acquisition, which could obviously fundamentally change the financials about their whole Xbox division. So, but it's interesting to be like, even at 100 million by 2027, Phil Spencer thought that Microsoft might sell them off, which it's not so much that I think he doesn't view those as good numbers. I wonder if that was the first public sign. Well, it wasn't supposed to be public, but what became the first public sign that the executives on the actual board at Microsoft are not happy with the Xbox division's performance.
Well, can I actually say a couple things about that?
Sure.
100 million in terms of what I think they're going to count as Game Pass subscribers is actually going to be really not impressive, because I don't know if you saw in their last like report, they called like Xbox like gold members, they called that like Game Pass Basic or something. So in the next Game Pass report, they're going to include Xbox Live. They've set the precedent, so they're going to include Xbox Live.
Got rid of Xbox.
So it's going to jump to 30, 40 million to 70 million when really there's no change in revenue.
Yeah.
And so it's already going to be 70 million next quarter. So 100 million wouldn't be that much more. So I don't think there's any way that it would be 100 million in 2027.
Yeah. I mean, well, 30 million is still a pretty decent increase for a system or for a platform that hasn't really had a lot of momentum. But I don't know. To me, it was just like, and by the way, I think we already had some feelings that he was feeling pressure, because back when the CMA did the original block on the Activision Blizzard deal, and he went on the Kind of Funny podcast, he sounded dejected. He sounded, because also Redfall came out and that didn't do what they wanted it to do. So they were having a really bad week. And he made it kind of sound like Microsoft just isn't happy at the moment. And I'm just like, man, Xbox has been kind of losing. If you actually look at the financials, their gaming division's been losing them money for decades. And I wonder if it's getting to the point where if this Activision Blizzard deal didn't go through, where the profit margins look so damn good once you own them, if it didn't go through, if Microsoft would have been like, you know what, maybe it's time to sell off.
That's a crazy scenario to think about, because you're right. Yeah.
Because they're like, hey, we're not making any money. Why don't we just sell off the assets, cut our losses, and call it a day? And granted, that looks like the Activision Blizzard deal's going through and everything's all good there. But I just, man, if that didn't go through, I wonder if that's why Phil was feeling all that pressure and like sounded so dejected when the CMA did their thing, because he's just like, fuck, if this doesn't sell, dude, I'm out of job. We're all out of jobs. We're done.
I agree, but could you just please watch your language? Thank you.
No,
Don't worry, I'm just gonna stay over here shutting up. So
No.
Eric,
Eric,
would you stop
calm
talking
down.
so much?
Anyways, so what do you guys think about that? Like that's kind of crazy to think. Like they're one of the because for so long, right? It's been since I was in high school. We've had the big three,
Mhm.
and there actually was a legit threat at some point that we're learning here that it could have just become a big two.
I'll show you big two.
Here we go.
I knew that was coming.
Sega's making
waiting.
a comeback.
No one's got any thoughts? Okay, that's cool.
Sega's making a comeback.
No, I mean,
They're
I
coming back.
like I said, like
Picked a bad topic. It happens.
if that didn't happen, I guess if that deal didn't go through, yeah, it would just be a whole different landscape. It's kind of crazy to think about, and it was this close to that happening too.
Yeah. Eric, what's your thoughts? Because you've had an Xbox since like the very beginning. I didn't have an OG Xbox.
Yeah.
So, like, what do you feel about the whole situation? Not just with all these leaks and everything, but like the idea that, you know what, there was a chance at one point that Xbox might just go away.
I don't know. It would have sucked because there was a lot of years spent playing. Actually, probably more Xbox than Nintendo.
Once the OG Xbox came out, yeah, dude, you were always the Xbox guy from that point forward for me. Literally, I've enjoyed Xbox because of you.
Well, the only reason why I had an Xbox was because of you. Wait, no, that was 360.
No, that was the 360.
But still,
and that was your dad.
Yeah,
give your dad credit. He called
Yeah.
me to see if I could make something happen, and I was getting fired anyway, so I made something happen.
Fag it. Yeah.
Kmart days. I was getting fired anyway, so
yeah.
I'll set that one aside for you, buddy.
Right. No, it just would have been weird to see how life would have been different without, an Xbox being there.
I mean, Xbox Live is like a big deal, right? Like Xbox kind of like showed like this is how online gaming should be done.
Yeah, they showed that we need to pay for access to our own
right,
internet.
that part's
That was
I've
awesome.
never lost
That
my
was a good job,
virginity, but if I had lost my virginity, it would have been playing Uno on Xbox Live.
There you go. That's crazy.
This close.
Yeah, they would have hit you with the reverse card though, so it wouldn't matter.
It's crazy.
I gave your virginity back. Reverse.
Wait, Eric, here's
What?
a question. So as someone that like played like a lot of Xbox, like you said, more than Nintendo, what has there been besides multiplats like to be excited about for Xbox? Like in the last few years.
Oh, I mean, honestly, the last few years I've been more Nintendo than anything.
Yeah.
It was kind of more the OG Xbox 360.
Yeah, I had the Xbox.
I'm the same way, and I'm not like a fanboy. I want to like all the companies, but like I've had a really hard time finding stuff that like I was super excited for Starfield. Don't think it's a bad game, just wasn't for me. But like I've been really wanting to find more Microsoft stuff, and I guess there's a lot more stuff coming out, like Fable and stuff that I'm looking.
What was that early? What was that exclusive one they dropped earlier this year? Out of one of their Xbox Directs.
The cell shaded one.
Yeah.
Yeah, it really popped off for a little bit.
Yeah.
Oh, like the Jet Set Radio style.
Yeah. Did you play that one? That one's really good.
I didn't play that one, no, because my Game Pass had lapsed, and I never renewed it.
Hi-Fi Rush.
I need to go back and try that one.
Yeah, that's a good one. Very, very different from not what you people expect from a Microsoft.
Hi-Fi Rush. Thank you, Charles Trudeau.
It's very good.
Yep.
Yeah.
It was kind of like a lot of Halo, a lot of Left 4 Dead, those types of things with a bunch of friends. And I mean, the only reason why I have an Xbox Series at all is because of Back 4 Blood. And then they decided to completely shit on couch co-op, which was one of the things that made the Left 4 Dead games amazing.
One thing I liked about Back 4 Blood is I did have Game Pass when that dropped, and you got it day one, but you could play with people playing it on PS5. So I didn't play couch co-op, but I played with all my friends, and they were all on PlayStation. And I was able to play it for free on Game Pass and be in a party with them. So that was kind of sick.
No, for sure. It's just couch co-op is very nostalgic, very,
he loves couch co-op.
It's great I shouldn't have to have a second freaking console if I'm in the same room as my is my friend.
Well, it's
You know?
funny that you say that, Eric. I don't know if I've ever shown you my setup, but I have an 80-inch and a 65-inch TV side by side with 2 of each console, so I can. But it's crazy that I have to do that because you're right.
You
Like
shouldn't have to.
I do that so I can essentially play couch co-op on these online games.
Mhm.
So when you sending me that TV hookup, baby, I remember getting that 80 and 65. Come on now. I do need
the 80
do need
inches
new
is
TVs, man.
78 more than you need.
Yep.
No.
But no, so I mean, it's weird to think that if Xbox was only around for, a handful of years, what would be extremely different about the gaming sphere now?
Well,
Would there be a
what's so
push?
crazy about Xbox and Microsoft is that like ever since the 360, it feels like if they were any other company, it feels like they've been on the brink of dying. Like ever since that horrible Xbox One launch. And the thing is though, they're owned by Microsoft. They actually have more money than anyone, and they can lose as much money as they want and still be okay as long as they decide that they want to keep the gaming division.
Yep.
And so
And
it just
apparently
makes
there might have been some pressure not to. And then, hey, let's go spend 70 bill and forget we ever had those thoughts. Have a good day.
Yeah.
But that's because the 70 bill is just such a good investment. They're going to make all that money back in 10 years, like easy. So, I mean, all you have to do is glance at the financials of what King and Activision were bringing in, and like, yeah, they're going to make that money
Whoa,
back.
whoa. Someone in the chat just said couch co-op is dead. Do you even play Nintendo games? Come on.
It'll be like
No,
every
this is an
Nintendo game
Xbox
is
discussion.
multiplayer besides like
Yeah.
Splatoon.
Yeah.
Splatoon's like the only one.
Which
Yeah,
makes
Mario
sense.
Kart 8, but that didn't sell very well, so I guess I see where they're coming
Smash
from.
Brothers is way
Yeah,
better.
Smash Brothers. I don't know.
Yeah. That
Dude,
didn't sell either.
Yeah, Mario Wonder coming up has only been talking about couch co-op the whole time.
What do you mean? It's a Dark Soul of 2D Mario.
Yeah, there we go. It's so weird to hear that like couch co-op is dead when on Nintendo's own platform, like most of their games.
Yeah, Nintendo is different. I will say, like mainstream couch co-op, like it was when online didn't exist. Of course, it's like nothing compared to that, but it's not dead. It Takes Two, Game of the Year 2 years ago,
couch
is
co-op,
exclusively you can only play co-op. I guess that's not couch co-op though. That you do have to have 2 screens.
Are you sure?
I played it couch co-op, but my setup was weird.
Yeah, I don't. My like we can debate about couch co-op all we want. Like, it clearly still exists. It's just not. It's not the standard it once was. If you had a multiplayer game, like, it used to be the standard. You have to have it. Now it's like, yeah, no, you can just not have it, and people are okay.
It's
with
an
it.
afterthought.
Yeah,
It's an
it's either
afterthought. Like
Mortal
or it's
Kombat
built
1,
specifically
best
for
game
it
of the year on
for
Switch.
reasons.
Couch co-op.
Like I'll give you an example. When people tell me couch co-op is dead, it's interesting because obviously Nintendo, a lot of Nintendo stuff in my house. What's the only system that ever gets used in couch co-op in my house? My Nintendo Switch. And who is it with? My fiance and my children. Nintendo likes that whole family setting, getting families playing together, and that's why they don't get rid of couch co-op, because you do that and you're telling family members you can't play together anymore, and that's just not.
And if you watch the marketing for the Switch, that's what young hip people do, is they put their Switch
we throw
New
rooftop
York
parties
City balconies and just pass the Joy-Cons around.
We milk cows. Anyways,
Andres, are you gonna swear at someone again?
All right. This is not.
Every time you've risen your hand, it's been to yell at someone in the comments.
Right, not doing that this time. I did it this third time just so you would think that. But I just want to say, I would really love it that if Nintendo's launch lineup for Switch 2, it's probably a lot of cross-gen stuff and third-party stuff alongside 3D Mario's as a big exclusive. But if they need to have just one more exclusive before the end of 2024, please let it be a new Nintendo Land. That is like the best couch co-op game.
Nintendo Land's great.
Oh my! Like, can you imagine a new Nintendo Land? It would be so good. It's like my favorite mini game compilation game. It's so fun. It's
that would be
different
way
too.
better than like
they published
another 1-2 Switch or like snipper clips. Like that'd be better. But I look at how Switch Sports did and how they thought it was going to do, and I kind of think maybe something like that could happen with Nintendo Land.
I mean, Switch
But if
Sports has
people
done
actually
pretty
gave
well.
it a chance, I mean,
Yeah, it
that's
depends on if they
I
expected
still
it to
popped
be
it in
like
my
80
Wii U
million.
to this
It was never
day.
going to be that.
Yeah.
Switch Sports is approaching 10 million.
Yeah. I think it's because people think of the Wii days and they're like, oh man, look at Wii Sports Resort when it sold like 35, 40 mil. It's like, yeah, but different eras.
Yeah.
10 mil is
Different
still
audience.
yeah. Like the audience on Switch
you're
is
right. You're
literally
right.
primarily adults according to Nintendo's own metrics. So
I mean, I think Switch Sports is officially an evergreen title. Like,
oh yeah, I think
Yeah.
so. It's still selling.
yeah, maybe it will get to 20 million someday.
Did they ever add full
To the
soccer
next
games to it?
Maybe 15.
Hmm.
What?
Did they ever add like actual soccer, or is it still just the shootout?
Oh yes.
Yeah.
Oh, actually, I
thought
haven't played
that-
soccer in Switch Sports, but I mean, I know the final big update was golf, and that's been there and it's been fine.
All right. Let's get into our last topic because this is it's kind of interesting when Nintendo does this. When they drop Nintendo Directs on Wednesdays, it's perfect. We get to have a podcast like the same day and it's all cool. But then when they do it the day after, there's this awkward period where it's like, oh, we got to wait 6 days. Damn it. So everyone on the planet has already talked about the Nintendo Direct, except in fact, not just everyone. Every Nintendo podcast on the planet has already talked about the Nintendo Direct. Now it's our turn. We had a Direct last week.
Saving the best for last.
We had a Direct last week. How we feeling? First off, before we see how we're feeling, what's your grade today? We had the grade situation last week. What's the grade today? I said C. I predicted a C. I'm still at a C.
Yeah.
So
Go ahead.
during
Andre.
the direct, I mean, my live stream, right? Like post show, there was a lot of negativity in my chat, right? And I put a poll, and the majority of people picked the C grade. And I remember during this show last week, I said a B,
Yep.
right?
Not the grades.
And I during the post show, I gave it a C, but I was reluctant because I think I was somewhat swayed by the masses. I would give the show a B minus. Like I'm changing my letter. I'm acknowledging that I gave it that I predicted a B. I gave it a C immediately after a show, but after thinking about it somewhat, I'm at a B minus. I could explain why, but I don't know if you want me to explain why.
Not yet. I'll give that in a moment. Jake,
Yeah.
what grade do you give it?
Okay. I predicted an A, and I was right. But no, I think it was. I agree with
Andre.
Andres.
Cocky on Twitter about it. I was like, there's no way you gave that an A.
No, I agree with Andres. B minus to C plus. Like, if we're not going with minuses or pluses, I would lean towards a C over a B. But if I can, I would give it like an 8 out of 10, like a B minus. Well, maybe even a little less. Maybe more like a C plus, honestly.
I think we have the same general sentiment. I think, well, and correct me if I'm wrong, I think we both just think they did what they had to do. And that was it.
Yeah. I'll expand on that when we talk about it
Yep.
more. But yeah, I think it's
What
similar.
about you, Eric? You said A.
Yeah, I said A. I was hoping for another
Strong
one of those.
A.
I was hoping for another one of those.
Wasn't even nervous.
No, I was hoping for another one of those starts out weak and stronger than hell. Yeah, no, it just kind of was. It started meh and ended meh. So, it's kind of middle of the road there. I mean, nothing. The 1,000 Year Door is a great addition, but to have that be the last thing shown was kind of. And there's absolutely nothing wrong with that game, but that is not necessarily the big ending that everybody was hoping for.
Okay. So
Kind of in the C area.
You're in the C area.
Yeah.
Okay. So now we can kind of get into what the reasonings for our grades were. And I'm going to kind of skip mine because I already did like an entire reaction stream to this with this audience. So I really want to know what you guys are feeling on all of this. And Eric, I kind of want to start with you because obviously you were one that went A, and you're like, nah, I'm a C now. You said, okay, the final game reveal was that it though? Was that the only thing that made you give it a C, or what about the rest of the direct?
No, I mean, I know I was watching your stream for it.
Oh, I
and-
influenced you.
Yeah, no.
They do call us
Um,
influencers for
Right.
some reason.
Yeah, no. No, I'm trying to think here. No, I know one of the things that you were talking about was that like Nintendo just falls off the cliff and blah blah blah. And I'm like, I really wanted to type out in chat. Well, at least they're doing something to keep the thing alive. I mean, yes, it's all ports and remasters and stuff like that, but at least it's better than just letting it die. So I'm happy for the people that are, the games that they wanted are here. But I don't know, outside of like the Peach game, if I'm going to necessarily pick up anything. So for me, it was just kind of, I'm happy for the people that got games that they wanted, but for me, it just wasn't a bunch of games that I wanted. So, I mean,
Sure.
for me, it's a personal C then.
Sure. Andres Riester, what about you, bud?
Yeah. So again, like I'm in this weird middle ground of is it a C or a B? Again, grades are kind of arbitrary, right? But I think the ultimate point is that it was basically par. It basically did. I think Nintendo did what they had to do, but it's not like a memorable direct for me. It's definitely it's not above average. Like that much is clear. Um, and it's interesting because I would say that Paper Mario: The Thousand Year Door is in terms of the games that are currently officially slated for 2024. It is my most anticipated game, more so than even the Peach game, which is a brand new game. And when we saw the gameplay, it actually made me more excited for the Peach game. Just to put that into perspective, right? Like I actually am high on the Peach game. Which is Princess Peach Showtime. I do remember the title, so I do care about it. But my point is, I actually think Thousand Year Door is a very big deal announcement. I think it is. It was worth the tease from Piero being very quiet on it, but I also understand why some people are. It took a little bit of wind out of the sail because at first it did take it out from me, and maybe that's why I'm kind of speaking on the direct a little bit more optimistically now than I was last Thursday because I kind of need to sit on it for a bit. But I think the reason why it wasn't the most amazing final announcement, it's not because of the game itself. I think the game itself is actually a really, really big deal. Again, this is like a very ambitious remake, maybe the most ambitious remake from Nintendo ever. Like I think we could have that conversation. But the problem is it's another Mario game in a 6-month period where we've only pretty much gone Mario Universe titles. Save for F-Zero 99, the only brand new release that's been announced is another Mario Universe title.
Detective
Well,
Pikachu.
I was talking about in this direct. But
This was
yeah,
in the direct.
well, Detective Pikachu was announced last direct.
Yeah, it was announced. I thought you meant in the direct.
No, I meant announced. But I mean, point is though, right? Like there's a couple things, right? But I think Detective Pikachu Returns is like not many people are high on that. That's definitely like low. And then, and actually, to be fair, Nintendo is publishing another code, so they do have their hand in that. So there are some non Mario Universe things coming, but for the most part, we're getting only Mario Universe games, right? We have Mario Wonder, which is great. We have Mario RPG, which is great. With the WarioWare game, which is great. We have Mario vs Donkey Kong, which is a Game Boy Advance remake. Which
is the Wario Move It? Is that a remaster? Or is that completely new?
I think it's a new game.
Okay. Yeah, I have no idea. That's why I'm asking.
I think it's there have been some WarioWare kind of like remaster remakes. I'm not going to pretend I'm the biggest WarioWare fan. I'm not saying I dislike them, but whenever they come out, I'm like, I always kind of end up passing on it because it doesn't feel like I need to buy it. If that makes any sense.
No, it totally does. I enjoy them quite a bit for what they are, but it's not like a
WarioWare Move
super
It's a
hype
new one, right?
experience. Yeah. Sorry, I just since you brought it up, I just wanted to.
Yeah. But anyways, the main point is that I think the reason why it wasn't the most exciting announcement for a lot of people because it was another Mario game announcement where we're getting mostly Mario game announcements, right? I think people wanted a brand new F-Zero title or like more ambitious F-Zero title. It was a 16-bit 99 game, right? The Donkey Kong game was a Mario vs Donkey Kong Game Boy Advance remake. Like that's a small title. You know, I think it's a quality title, but it's a small title. And there was no Metroid, there was no Zelda, there was no other Nintendo IP. Like there's a whole bunch of Nintendo IP that exists that are outside the Mario universe, and Nintendo isn't tapping into right now. So I think kind of like that lack of variety, in conjunction with it being a remake, which a lot of people just assumed was a remaster at first, that kind of impacted a lot of people's impressions of this direct. And I kind of get that, because I literally, when I saw the star on the book, I was like, oh, it's another Mario Universe game. Like that, my initial like first seconds of seeing the 1,000-Year Door trailer weren't excitement. It was like, oh, another one. But after sitting on it for a while, I'm like, oh, this is actually a big deal. I'm kind of excited about this. So yeah, I think I think that kind of explains it for a lot of people. But that all said, you know, I think about what we have coming, right? We have Mario Wonder. We have, I'm probably not gonna get the WarioWare game or the Detective Pikachu game, but I am getting Mario RPG in November, right? The Pokemon DLC just came out. We have more DLC coming out next year. We did see this Splatoon 3 DLC, which looks really good. We have another code, which I think I am going to get in
I thought the
January.
second DLC was coming out like last week of December. I can't remember where I saw that.
That might be speculation.
Okay.
Yeah, because they I think it said winter, right?
Yeah. I don't think we have a date on it yet.
December. I don't think it's.
Yeah. Okay. Okay.
Yeah. But I'm excited. Like we have a game in February. We have the Peach game in March. The Luigi game, actually, I'm kind of high on Luigi's Mansion 2 HD. So I'm excited for the games to come. I think Nintendo's doing a good job of giving us something to enjoy. But obviously, all of our eyes are kind of like, okay, clearly Nintendo's holding back, though. Like that is a sentiment
Nate,
amongst many.
Side order looks great.
Nate, can I link
Yeah.
in the chat the tweet that where Nintendo tweeted the whole
Yeah.
list?
Sure can.
Okay.
Go for it.
And just in case anyone in the chat wants to follow along with everything that was in that direct, Nintendo literally tweeted
A giant update.
poster.
They do that like every direct. Yeah.
Shout out to Johnny Hernandez in the chat saying Hogwarts Legacy was not in the direct. Like that is true. It was not in the direct. Neither was the Mortal Kombat, which I found to be, especially considering the reviews, very interesting.
Yeah, you think Hogwarts Legacy Switch too?
It's coming out in November.
It says November 14th and hasn't been delayed yet.
I don't think it's getting delayed. I think it's coming out. I think it's going to be bad.
just going to be bad.
Yeah, it might be okay, but I think it's going to be subpar.
I firmly believe it's going to get delayed. They're going to cancel it and move it to Switch 2. And they just haven't announced it yet.
But it has
I can absolutely see that.
It has a specific release date, though, right?
Sure.
It's not just November,
it has a specific release date.
And the thing is, they don't want to announce the Switch 2 yet, so they can't announce that it's getting delayed for Switch 2.
And maybe
it makes sense that they wouldn't say anything about the release date yet.
I think it's going to come out and be a dumpster fire, and then I think they'll have a Switch 2 version come out with the DLC. That's what I think is going to happen.
You know what? I'm going to buck the trend. It's going to come out and it's going to be great. I've been wanting the Switch version to be great. They promised a great experience. They've already delayed it multiple times to make it a great experience. You know what? You know why they're not showing it out? You know why? There's going to be a third-party dedicated direct next month, and that's where it's going to be.
That is a very bold prediction. Predicting a partner showcase a month after.
Nate had the most accurate prediction for the direct, so I mean,
yeah.
They predicted on the grade. I my actual predictions video, I said a bunch of stuff that I was hoping would happen, like Metro Prime.
I was afraid of the grade. Yeah,
that wasn't part of the grade. My grade was the realistic. My grade was this is actually what I expect to happen, rather than. But like when I make a prediction video, I'm just kind of like I got to throw some stuff that I really want to happen, and I legitimately thought it would be a good time to show up Metro Prime 4, but it didn't happen, which is fine. Which is totally fine. It all did is tell me that Andres was right the entire time last week, and I'm just an even bigger dumbass. This thing's gonna be like a cross-generation title.
Nah, man. Have you not been paying attention to the chat? I'm a clown.
Yeah, dude, I get called the clown every day. You can't see.
No, and you know what? I was literally
you guys are awesome and amazing.
I said that about Metroid Prime 4 at the beginning of the stream, and then I let you sway me with your Sith ways you're smooth talking, and I was like, yeah, Nate, that's what Nintendo. You're right. You're
Dude,
right.
I'm very
actually.
good at that though. Ask Eric.
And
He's got the fire in the background. You know,
Yeah,
he probably
you-
does a red lightsaber.
You brought me over to the dark side.
Just need some smooth jazz in the background now.
Yeah, dude. But Jake, you're not that hard to dissuade, to be honest. I just got to talk about. We have free 2 inches here all day, and you're
Thank you.
already on the side.
I
Thank you
mean,
for that.
I'm personally actually somewhat happy about Prime 4 not being in the direct. One, I was prepared for it. Although it's okay.
Validation?
It was, well, no, I want a Switch 2 version. That's it.
Which,
Like
by the way, we still don't know 100% for sure. But at this point, we're kind of like,
I would say
on.
that
come on.
the
Like,
I
it's
feel pretty good about
you
it.
can't announce that like February next year and have it not be
The odds seem pretty fairly stacked in the favor of Prime.
I mean, there might
4.
almost be more odds it's an exclusive on Switch 2 at this point than it being exclusive to Switch. And
Okay. Listen, that I agree with, but just for those in the chat to not get confused, we are not saying that a Switch 2 exclusive is more likely than cross-gen. It's more likely than Switch 1 exclusive. I agree with that.
But they could have moved it if they wanted, because maybe it's just that much of a visual showcase, and they want to visually showcase the next system. Possible. But I think it's more likely than it being Switch exclusive at this point. But
I
probably
think we just to clarify, we agree cross-gen is the most likely outcome, though. Yeah.
But now that we are on the same page on that, I could totally see it being cross-gen, also launch title for Switch 2, but because that and something like a 3D Mario are such different types of games, and people don't typically buy a new hardware on day one, typically would like to get more than one game. I could see them doing a new Switch 2 exclusive 3D Mario launch release in addition to Metroid Prime 4 cross-gen day one release.
I don't think they'll release both in the same day, but I will entertain the idea of Prime 4 being a day one Switch 2 title, though. I think Nintendo would spread out their personal first-party major releases.
Well, they always do, so it is a bold thing for me to predict. But just for new hardware like that, I don't know.
But I do I can kind of see a scenario though where Prime 4 could be a day one Switch 2 title, because stock's gonna be limited anyway, right? If let's say Switch 2 comes out this September and Prime 4 releases day one Switch 2, there are still some big third-party games that come out day one. So there's still maybe that effect of people buying multiple games regardless, right? But 3D Mario saved for like an October release or a November release as the big holiday title. What if they get a little bit more stock in? So they still have 3D Mario out by the holidays, which is the most important thing. But Prime 4 is given major spotlight by being the day one Switch 2 title, further strengthening the argument that I was making last week that by having Prime 4 being at least in that launch window, it becomes kind of like that kind of title that people think of when they get a Switch 2. Giving it more of that evergreen possibility. And with your point of Prime 4 maybe being a day one title, I think that kind of strengthens it more so. I'm not sure I'm 100% buying into Prime 4 being the day one title, but I could see it working. See, as long as 3D Mario still comes out before
my
the holiday.
condition on Prime 4 being a day one title is that there would be something like a 3D Mario as well. And they would try to just like completely do something that they've never done the entire Switch generation and have two major releases on one day just to take advantage of that hype.
How about Nintendo Land?
Because here's the thing, when the Switch came out, and granted, the Switch came off of the Wii U, but when the Switch came out, the only title, like the big title, was Breath of the Wild, and there was still so little hype for the Switch that people were scalping the NES Classic for more than the Switch was going for. And I mean, you couldn't get a Switch either, but there was less demand for that than the NES Classic. And literally, Breath of the Wild outsold the Switch hardware. More people owned the Switch version of Breath of the Wild than owned a Switch. And it's just like Nintendo not wanting to mess up the launch. That's the only reason I could see them doing Prime 4 and another first-party game that's a completely different genre. and the Nintendo fans will buy both games day one, which will be a huge amount of software sales right from the get-go, which is something Nintendo wants.
Yeah.
And people
Also,
that were like don't care about Mario wouldn't have gotten a Switch 2 on day one, or people that don't care about Metroid, which is most, wouldn't get a Switch 2 day one.
it
But when
hurts
you
when you
have
say
both
that.
there, it just helps everything. What are you smiling at?
Nah,
What are you smiling at, Andres?
it just hurts when you say most people don't care about Prime.
Well, you know what I mean.
It's
We
still
care about
reality,
it.
but yeah.
Most of the people here on the podcast care. But
Yeah, I still have this optimism that Metroid Prime's gonna have its Breath of the Wild moment. That said, I still
I
think
do
3D
think
Mario
it'll
should,
sell more than any other Prime game or
yeah,
Metroid game in general.
which would be huge.
Yeah.
Even 3.5 million would be a lot. You know, I would say that's still successful for most franchises. 3.5 million is a big deal.
So
And it could obviously it could do more, but I just want to
well,
say
I
that
think that they're using the Switch 2 launch to boost those sales because they do think that it's going to be, they think the game is that good that they want it to be so hyped that it's a launch game. So people will just buy it because it's one of the two big games. Again, this is all speculation, my theory.
yeah,
But people will want to buy it so that'll boost the sales. And then when people start playing it and they realize how good it actually is, like I could see it like being evergreen for the Switch too.
if it has multiplayer, maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah. So something that I just want to kind of mention, it's on my mind right now. We're getting a lot of Mario games right now, and I think you can make the argument that us getting a lot of Mario games right now would soften the blow. Excuse me.
Bless you.
I might be allergic to bullshit, so maybe what I'm saying is bullshit. But um, I feel like with all these Mario games coming out now, it may soften the blow for Mario fans when they find out that the next 3D Mario is coming to just Switch 2. Like, because with all these different Mario games, I think it would be hard to complain as a Mario fan that you weren't fed on Switch, you know, if anything. And to that end, while I don't think this is happening, I will say that the way that Nintendo handled Prime 1 Remastered, putting it out, clearly an ambitious remaster, but for only $40, but with minimal marketing. There's something about that I find very odd, especially after they marketed the hell out of Metroid Dread. And I do wonder. I'm not saying I think this is what's going to happen, but I am entertaining the possibility that maybe that was done as a way to be like, hey, we gave Switch fans a cheap, high quality Prime 1 remaster, but we're taking away Prime 4, and Prime 4 is going to be a Switch 2 exclusive. Like,
See,
I don't
I
think it's
don't.
going to happen, but I'm just throwing it out there.
Yeah, I don't think they would do that either because even with the Wii U, which was an install base of 13 million, they kept their promise and gave Breath of the Wild. I don't think they would screw over an install base of 140, 150 million that they promised a game already.
Yeah.
I can see that.
That-
Yeah.
I mean, that's
Yeah.
a lot. It's a lot of people.
That's
It's a
a
lot.
lot of people.
That may be the best. That's probably the best argument. Like, there's. It's not even like a good person show of good faith thing. It's a straight up money thing. Like, that's a lot of money you're losing out on.
Yeah, you don't want to start the
Yeah.
next generation on a show of bad faith.
Yeah.
Because then it's like, okay,
It's
you're
also
going to
good
announce
bad
this really
PR,
cool
yeah.
game for the Switch 2. How do we know it's not coming to the Switch 3? Look what you just did. You know what I mean?
It's also it would be bad PR. That's another good point. Not to mention that Prime 4 is technically listed for Switch, like, and it has been.
Yeah.
Also, how often does
I hope they
Nintendo
don't
do
do that
things
because I
like
don't
that?
want them to
They
get
don't.
any kind of backlash like that. I just want
Yeah.
this new hardware to. I want it to do
Yeah.
really well, and because I think it's going to be awesome.
And so another consideration, though, right? And I think sometimes when we the reason I think we even consider the possibility of it being a Switch 2 exclusive, like why is that even a worthwhile consideration? Is because focusing on one platform, typically you can get the best results, right? It kind of goes back to a little bit of the debate Nate and I had last week, because Nate, you were arguing that maybe it makes more sense to just focus on one platform. Of course, at the time we're talking about being just for Switch, because if they divert resources to make sure there's another version, that could cause some potential troubles, right? But we take a look at like where we're hearing about Switch 2. What Paul Gale, right? A shout out to Paul Gale. He was at least in the chat earlier, how he was talking about how he heard from a third party developer that the ecosystem of developing for Switch 2 is a night and day difference over Switch 1. And we're also hear about how, from another rumor, that Final Fantasy 7 Remake, they got the enhanced version, like the PS5 version, running quickly and easily for Switch 2 as well. And then we hear about like how there's this tech demo of an enhanced version of Breath of the Wild, 4K 60 with no load times. It gives me some room for optimism that they can still have a great Switch version, but then they'll take the Prime 4 Switch 2 version, right? And maybe they do push it to like, maybe 4K is asking too much, but a higher, maybe 1440p or something, but like, a higher resolution, still 60, but it also has ray tracing or something like that, or HDR.
Yeah,
like,
I mean,
things that would make
was
a
the
big
thing
difference.
with Breath of the Wild. Like, it was obviously the superior version was on Switch.
Well, graphically,
was
it was only a subtle difference. They went from 900p from 720 to 900p, but there were still differences. It was a higher resolution, there was better audio quality, and obviously it was portable. But the Switch 2 is going to be a much bigger jump from Switch 1 than Switch was from Wii U. So,
right.
I do hope they kind of actually take advantage of it. And from everything we're hearing of what they could do on Switch 2, I think that bodes well. While still the Switch version would still be solid.
Mm-hmm.
So, I think we can probably just go on to our Q&A section now. We got a few questions submitted already. So, let's...
We haven't talked enough about Mario vs. Donkey Kong, though.
Well, what do you want to talk about with it?
He's got great fur.
We can also talk about how today is exactly 1 month away from Mario Wonder's launch.
Nice.
Just throwing that out
Oh,
there.
yeah.
And they didn't talk
Yeah,
about it. They only mentioned it for like a second, like a few seconds during the
real?
direct.
And to make our
Exclusive?
PS5 fans happy, it's also 1 month from Spider-Man 2. Just throwing that out same day.
Yeah.
Woo.
We're a little less than a month away from Sonic Superstars. Comes out on the 17th next month. So
Nice.
we're about to enter major game release territories. October, November. Always lots of big games coming out.
I love a big release.
Let's see here. We have a $2 question in here from Raichu. Love it. You think Switch 2 will see games like Elden Ring? No one talks. Our audio listeners are like, what?
I answered this when he asked it in the chat.
Yeah,
absolutely.
100. We keep hearing about big third party games working. Like this is Elden Ring's a PS4 game, so like it's on PS4.
Like
so.
Yakuza games coming over. I mean, yeah, we're gonna see a lot more third party support from the sounds of it.
Yeah, if any of these rumors are true, of course we're gonna get some of these games.
The bigger question to ask though is not. I think it's almost guaranteed. It feels like, of course, these are all rumors, right? And well, some reports, but it's not confirmed. But it feels like we are for sure getting games like Elden Ring. But I think the bigger question to ask is, will we get not just games like Elden Ring, but literally Elden Ring on Switch 2?
Yo, yeah. I don't even think we're getting Elden Ring. It's gonna happen.
You totally.
I mean, we've got Dark Souls 1 through 3 on Switch.
Yeah,
we do.
Switch can run Elden Ring. So
we already have Dark Souls 1.
Really?
I don't think 2 and 3 are on there unless they have some sort of cloud.
I might have misspoken.
Either way, the point is, Switch couldn't run Elden Ring.
That's my mistake.
Run Elden Ring. Like Switch 2 can run Elden Ring. So I'm not even worried about it.
Yeah, like I really hope. I mean, the thing is, they're still working on the DLC, right?
They're dropping DLC.
So Elden Ring will have like an expansion later, and it'll be extra relevant hopefully around the time Switch 2 releases. So I'm all for it. Portable Elden Ring, let's go. But still 4K.
Yeah, you were right, by the way. I misspoke. We just have Dark Souls remastered.
Yeah. And just for the record, when I say portable Elden Ring, but still 4K, I don't mean at the same time. Because they're not going to have
time. You heard it here first. Andres Restart exclusive source, 4K, 8-inch screen.
4K screen. Yeah, that's my big league.
Happening.
8-inch?
It's not.
That's 6 too many.
Yeah.
Not true.
Let me see. Then we had a Joe Taco here for 10 coming in saying, I wonder if Nintendo is going for a free upgrade route regarding backwards compatibility. Due to these demanding games coming to Switch so late, like Borderlands 3, the Batman games, Mortal Kombat 1, thoughts?
No, they're not. They're not doing that. But they might do it for expansion pack online members for certain games. But they're gonna make their money.
Like it's weird to me when someone brings up the Batman games. Those aren't really that new. I want to be like very clear. Those are old games. So I don't really the Switch version of the Batman games should be pretty damn good because it came out on hardware worse than Switch. So I don't really that one I don't really get. Borderlands 3 I think came out on hardware worse than Switch. I could be wrong on that one. I can't remember exactly when that one came out. Maybe that was PS4. And obviously Mortal Kombat 1, is a little rough on Switch. Supposedly Ed Boon has promised he's going to get it fixed, but promises, Nintendo also inferred that we would have Pokemon Scarlet performance issues fixed. And that's it.
They implied. You inferred.
Okay. English major over there. Drink your Bud Light, sir.
Pepsi.
Sorry, Pepsi.
Pepsi is the only thing that rhymes with Hepsi.
Hot.
Look, I didn't know we were bringing up Pepsi. Look, do I think they're gonna? The general question is, are they gonna do like a free upgrade route? And Nintendo, for starters, third-party games. When you talk about Borderlands 3, Batman, Mortal Kombat 1, them being upgraded on the new hardware isn't even up to Nintendo.
I was just gonna say that. Yeah.
So start with that. Those are third-party games. So if there's backwards compatible and third parties want to offer free upgrades, that's up to them. Nintendo doing it for their games, I don't think so. And I've been on record saying this before because I think they want to repackage resell. But I could be wrong.
I agree.
They could also do smaller paid upgrades like PlayStation tried to do for a bit. So I don't really know.
I think it could be on a game by game basis too.
Because guys, I'll tell you something. People are like, whoa, with DLSS, it could be DLSS has to be built into the game. So that would still require them having to patch games. So I personally don't think Nintendo's going to do free upgrades. And I don't think most third-party games are going to do it either. But I don't know.
I don't know. Maybe some part of me just feels like it's kind of messy, and I just kind of think let's just not even worry about that. Let's just get new games, and that's it. Like if a game it's supposed to be backwards compatible, and I know this is an assumption, right? Because it depends on how they handle the backwards compatibility. But I'm going to be the optimist and say that the way the backwards compatibility will work, Switch games will run a little bit better on Switch 2. And all I mean is any game that has a variable frame rate or variable resolution will be a little bit more solid and aiming towards the high end on Switch 2.
Here's what I think will happen, realistically. Certain games that Nintendo deems are worthy of being re-released on Switch 2 for full price, like Breath of the Wild, in a completely upgraded 4K, they'll be charged full price. And I don't think there'll be an upgrade option. Other games that come out cross-gen after the Switch 2 comes out, like Metroid Prime 4, but not only Metroid Prime 4, any Nintendo game where it comes out on Switch and Switch 2 on the same day, the Switch versions could have a $10, $20 upgrade path if it comes out. You know what I mean? Those would be the exceptions. So when I say that it's on a game by game basis, that's specifically what I mean.
Yeah.
No, I can see that.
So I got something interesting to talk about.
Uh-oh. Is it related to this?
Somewhat.
Okay.
That's why I was thinking about it.
Okay.
Because Paper Mario: The Thousand Year Door, I think, is a very, very interesting game. Not just because I think it's a very ambitious remake from Nintendo of arguably one of the greatest games that came out during the GameCube era, but also because it's just as a 2024 release timing. And given what we're hearing about Switch 2, right? Obviously Paper Mario: The Thousand Year Door is coming out sometime between April and December. That much we pretty much know for a fact. So there's a strong chance it releases in the Switch 2 era if Switch 2 is coming out next year, right? And we factor that on top of this interesting button theory, how typically remakes match the button layouts of the games they're being remade for, and it's not. And Thousand Year Door does not have the GameCube button layouts, but rather has a new button layout. A is red, B is yellow, Y is green. We haven't seen X, but that seems to suggest the Super Famicom colors. It may be the case. There's a lot of leaps here, right? But it may be the case that they're matching a new button layout for the Switch 2. And that gets more interesting when you consider that if Switch 2 is basically going to be like a hybrid Switch, Nintendo may be thinking of ways to make it to differentiate it. One of it may be having a really big screen, but another may be, well, let's put those 4 colors on the Joy-Con so it's clearly different from the base Switch. But anyways, I mentioned all those different things. It kind of makes sense. Not guaranteed, though. Because if Thousand Year Door is coming out during the Switch 2 era, like how do they handle that game? Because if they're going to treat it as a cross-gen title as well, which some of the things I mentioned may suggest
I don't think they are. I think that's a swan song Switch title.
I disagree, but
Okay.
I'm just saying, like, it's the kind of game that it already looks fantastic, but it could look good with some
It's
spruced
a
up visuals.
turn-based RPG essentially. Like it's gonna look just as good as Switch as it would on Switch 2. So there's no reason for it to be cross-gen.
4K, right?
That's
HDR.
pretty much. Yeah,
It has some advanced lighting, so they could potentially push that with ray tracing as well. Like
They're little paper cartoons. You don't need it to be 4K.
and those colors could pop, man. Those lights could really shine. I'm just saying, like, they could. I mean, heck,
Yeah.
they have Minecraft with HDR and ray tracing, like, so
Yeah, no, I'm sure
Yeah.
this will sell as much as Minecraft for sure.
I'm just that's not the point. The point is that even simplistic games, they can take advantage of those features and look really
For
good
sure,
with them.
for sure.
So I just think it's interesting how Thousand Year Door doesn't have a set timing, and I'm curious how they're going to handle that game, and I wonder if it will have some visual enhancements for Switch 2.
So it's interesting too because Deadlock brings up this thing saying like some games will be upgradable, some will be full remasters, as always been the case. And he brings up PlayStation, and he says to look at Last of Us, where it's got back compat and a remaster. Well, back compat is kind of irrelevant. Back compat just means you'll be able to play all your Switch games on the system. We're talking about this question specifically about the games being upgraded on the new system, not just backwards compatible. The Last of Us backwards compat isn't upgraded on the new system.
There's something I didn't mention that that was
Oh.
kind of the main
Just
point.
throwing that out, right?
About this though, right? Because it depending on how Nintendo chooses to handle a free upgrade route or a paid upgrade route or just having separate versions, right? Like a Switch version, a Switch 2 version, and you choose which one you buy. Paper Mario Thousand Year Door is technically, I don't think you can pre-order it yet. I'm on the website and you can't pre-order it yet. Now there isn't a set release date yet, but given that you can't pre-order it yet, if it is going to be a cross-gen title of some kind, it may be the case that the reason why we can't pre-order yet is because by the time they do announce pre-orders, we can choose if we want it to be the Switch 2 version or the Switch 1 version.
Can you do me a favor, Andres? Can you clarify? When you say you can't pre-order it, you mean like on the eShop?
Yeah. Why can you do it on Amazon?
I'm not sure. I'm gonna check, but can you pre-order like Princess Peach on the eShop?
Yeah,
you can. Okay, that's
pretty sure. Yeah.
And I'm looking at Best Buy's website, and I don't even see Paper Mario on there. Like, and normally retailers will just list stuff. Like, you can pre-order Metroid Prime 4.
When you go to Nintendo's website, am I allowed to screen share on here?
Yeah, you can screen share.
Okay.
I just have to
okay. Approve it.
Yeah.
That is a really good point, actually, Andres.
So you can see. So you can pre-order Princess Peach Showtime, but you cannot pre-order Paper Mario Thousand Year Door. So I only bring this up, right, because since we're talking about potential visual upgrades, if they're going to, depending on how Nintendo chooses to handle this, if they do, if Thousand Year Door is in that Switch 2 window, which it may be, it may be the case that you buy either a Switch 2 version or a Switch 1 version. And since pre-orders aren't up yet and Switch 2 hasn't been announced yet, it's possible. I again, speculation. I don't know, but maybe.
No,
Yeah.
honestly, good point. Good point.
Yep. Sammy talks about games. Did a $5 super chat to get this in. He wanted to say, I think no backwards compatibility would be shooting themselves in the foot. They built this ecosystem. I don't see them breaking trust with consumers. Is a lack of backwards compatibility a trust breaking thing? They never promised it.
Yeah, I don't think it's a trust breaking thing. It's whether or not it's a momentum breaking thing. And to be honest, I'm not sure it is, which terrifies me. Because like they've always done it with like at least the previous console. I mean, not with their cartridge based systems prior to the GameCube, but ever since. But like they've had some big failures, like with the Wii U not being like distinguished enough from the Wii. So it like makes me nervous to think. I was talking earlier in the show about how I really feel like Nintendo's going to have a solid cutoff and it's going to be really next gen. It makes me nervous to think that there's a possibility that there isn't backwards compatibility, but there really is that possibility. But my one thing that gives me some hope that it will be backwards compatible is what I was talking about earlier with when they do Switch and Switch 2 cross-gen releases for anything that comes out post Switch 2 launch, that there will be that upgradable option. And that would give me hope that, well, if it's upgradable, then it's backwards compatible too.
Yeah, maybe like what they could do is if you have the Switch version, you can pay to get a Switch 2 upgrade, but there will also be a Switch 2 release most of the time.
Yeah, I mean that's exactly what I'm saying. Yeah,
yeah, but it would only be probably for titles that come out once Switch 2. Like I guess
yeah, that's what I'm saying as well.
I kind of feel weird about Nintendo retroactively offering the upgrade for a whole bunch of different Switch
that's
games
what I
in the
said
past.
earlier. Like for games like Breath of the Wild, there would be no upgrade path.
It's been out since 2017. Like
yeah, they would just release the Switch 2 version, and you could either buy that for full price or play the version you already have with no upgrade path. I agree with you. That's exactly what I'm saying.
Yeah, but you know what, Jake? I don't think I've talked about this with you. But something that gives me hope for backwards compatibility. There's a few different things, but since you're a Pokemon fan, I think it's worth mentioning to you. If you just look at how Pokemon Company and the Pokemon games have been handled on the handheld systems, the handhelds always being backwards compatible was kind of key to how Pokemon transitioned from one generation to the next. Because you remember, like, whenever it was a new handheld, there would still be like a couple Pokemon games that would come out on the prior handheld, even during the heyday of the new one, and it would just run a little bit better on the new one sometimes, and that would be pretty much it. Given that Pokemon's only on Switch now, I feel, and also given how big of a deal Pokemon is, I think it probably would behoove Nintendo to kind of position things to work in the favor of how Pokemon Company likes to handle their games. So it's just, I think it's a point in the favor of backwards compatibility. Because if
Andres, that is honestly probably the best point I've heard to like make me think that like they have to go backwards compatible. So thank you for telling me that. That makes me feel better because you're 1,000% right.
Thanks.
You're welcome. Like thank you.
Yeah. I just think it'd be weird because I mean we expect the Pokemon game to come out next holiday. So if it's not if the Switch 2 is not backwards compatible, they'd be kind of shooting themselves in the foot to not have that game available on the system.
So to answer the question, would they be shooting themselves in the foot?
What?
They would be.
But see, I look at it differently. If they're under
Nate, no, it's okay. We'll pass for this one, Eric.
Yeah, right. I'm gonna continue.
Go ahead, Nate.
Under the presumption that there is no backwards compatibility, this is just a presumption. The thing is, I don't know that that's shooting themselves in the foot because Pokemon doesn't seem to have the evergreenness that other games do. So when they drop it on the old system, okay, cool. It's got that audience. It's going to sell whatever. They could just wait 6 months and then drop a version on the new system. And you can shake your head and go, Other companies have done it. Now, Pokemon Company hasn't, but
there's a reason why. Like, I know that you don't play Pokemon like as intensely as myself, or I
you can just say I don't play Pokemon and call it a day.
Well, I know you give them a chance. Like, I don't want to say that, but like the thing with
I don't
the
play
thing
Pokemon.
that's huge with Pokemon and millions and millions of players, because they sell so many of those players are about transferring Pokemon from previous games.
Okay.
And like being able to trade and transfer all that stuff, like it's so
through
hard
a
not
separate
to have
application.
backwards
They can still do
compatibility.
that. They can still do
What's
that. Isn't that through a separate application? So why wouldn't they just be able to do that?
You can still trade like any of the games that came out this gen, with the exception of some of them. You can still like you could trade Sword and Shield to Scarlet and Violet.
Okay. And
so it's just like, I don't know. It just, to me, like, I don't know. What Andres was saying just makes so much more sense.
we're using Nintendo accounts now. You can. What does this have to do with anything? You can just.
How would you? Okay, so let's say you trade in your Switch to get a Switch 2. How are you going to transfer your Sword and Shield stuff to the separate app, to Pokemon Home?
That sounds like a you problem.
That's a big
just
problem.
No matter what, where they launch a new game, a new Pokemon
Sorry,
game.
we're not all playing Madden on Xbox, okay? Like, sorry, some of us like Pokemon.
That is another thing, though, because
like they're gonna eventually have an exclusive Pokemon game on Switch too. It's the same problem. I'm confused. I don't really understand.
Yes, you could technically, if you could get Pokemon Bank. It's not Pokemon Bank anymore. It's called Pokemon Home, right? Pokemon Bank was the 3DS for app. So like you could technically get transfer all your Pokemon to Pokemon Home on your Switch, and then download Pokemon Home on Switch 2. Like that is possible, but also if you have the game on your Switch, you can upload it to Pokemon Home from your Switch 2 if it was backwards compatible.
But the problem with that is, and again, this is like not like avid Pokemon players won't know this, but this is like standard practice now. There's only 400 Pokemon in any given new Pokemon game that comes out for the Switch, and there's almost 1,100 Pokemon in total. So you could take all your Pokemon in the previous Switch games, transfer them to Pokemon Home, and then only have access to a third of them. Not even a third of them, because 100 of them are going to be new Pokemon. So like 20, you're only going to have access to 25% of your Pokemon. Some people are going to want to replay the old games, use those Pokemon that they have. For me, there's like
I don't know
too many problems.
Confused. I'm confused how that's a problem. That's literally how it works today. If you want to play your old Pokemon games, you have to have the old systems. What are we talking about?
But there is a Pokemon game on Switch to have every Pokemon ever made now, and they're all on Switch.
What?
Like so if you take all the Pokemon games on Switch, all 1,100 Pokemon are in at least one of them.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Okay.
So it doesn't matter. You don't have the old Pokemon games. You can catch and have every Pokemon that exists just with the Switch games.
Is that actually true? I have no idea.
Yeah, it is true. It is true. You can't.
They started the limitations with Sword and Shield, didn't they?
Right. So you can only have 800 of the Pokemon in Sword and Shield, but there's 600 you can have in Scarlet and Violet. And when you take all of the games together, they will
out that every Pokemon's appeared on.
Sorry, it's so convoluted, hard to explain.
Yeah. That's why I was like, I wasn't aware.
You get what I'm saying now. Yeah.
So, but I still don't really get what the problem is. Like, if you want to play with your old Pokemon that's not in a new game, you still would have to play a game on an old system.
Right. So you would want to play the old game. And if you sold your original Switch, now you can't.
Okay. And if I sold my 3DS,
what's different about it, Nate, is before it was all tied to your 3DS, which was like a handheld console. So most people kept that and kept their Switch, which is why as these games were trickled out to the Switch, people were still able to transfer their Pokemon from their 3DS to the Switch. But now it's like it's a console that almost will replace for a lot of people the original Switch. Maybe it's just a Pokemon nerd thing, but to me, that's like egregious.
Like, dude, there was a DS exclusive Pokemon game that dropped while 3DS was on. I don't really. I'm just really
Yes,
confused.
but
Like,
you can transfer. You could play DS. Exactly, it was backwards compatible though. You could play DS games.
I know,
on your
I
3DS.
understand that. It seems like a weird argument because it feels like you're saying if I want to play an old game, well, I sold the system, so now I can't play it. Well, yeah, but you'd
Unless
already
it's
know
backwards
that.
compatible, then you could.
Yeah, but if
So,
there wasn't
alright.
backwards compatibility, you'd know that you're giving up being able to play that game.
Let me try to connect things. And,
Like,
Yeah.
and
Switch is a
I'm gonna
backwards
try.
compatible
Let
game,
us gingerly touch our tips.
I was just saying that
I'm
I'm just
going-
saying. By the way, I think there's going to be backwards compatibility. I want to make that very clear. This is the devil's advocate take of hello, so many Pokemon games on
Look
3DS.
at the fire, obviously.
You
Devil.
can't play any of those on Switch. So what are we talking about?
So, correct me if I'm wrong. I just want to try and connect the points that are being made here. What I believe ultimately the point that Jake is making is that a lot of Pokemon fans want to have access to all their Pokemon. And if you don't have the backwards compatibility and you want to buy Switch 2, if you sell your Switch to do that, like
Don't
most
sell your
people,
Switch.
well, but then the thing is, a lot of people will want to sell a Switch to get a Switch 2. So it
But
kind
the
of
value
diminishes the
once
amount of
Switch
people that
2
would
announced,
buy
the
it.
value of your Switch is going to tank anyways. Yeah, I mean, what are you going to do? Get $80?
Well, but I mean,
Get a
the
job.
point is,
Andres,
this
that's
is
exactly what I'm saying. You're getting at exactly what I'm saying.
the point is though is that less people would buy a Switch 2 then. And
How would
now,
less people buy a
but
Switch
hold
2?
on, just hold on a second.
What are we talking about?
The point to be made here isn't that this would be the sole reason why it should happen, but it's another drop in the bucket as to why it makes more sense that it's backwards compatible.
But why wasn't this a problem going from 3DS to Switch then?
Because people kept their 3DS because it was a handheld.
But why
Well,
can't
to a
they
home
keep the Switch
console.
at the
Well,
handheld?
it actually
No,
was
but
the problem.
it's
National
a
Dex.
Switch 2 is an actual replacement for the Switch.
And
a lot of
Switch was
people-
an actual
A
replacement for
3DS
3DS.
was its totally different thing with its own.
No, it was a
ecosystem
hand.
of
They're both.
games.
Are they not both handhelds?
Well,
Go grab
hold on
your
a
Switch.
second.
It's a
Totally
Hold on a
handheld.
second. Listen, it happens.
You're being stupid right now because you know that there's a huge difference.
Yeah, it's a hybrid. It's both a replacement for 3DS and
Right.
Wii
The
U.
But the
3DS
thing is, they
had
can't.
its own ecosystem of games. The Switch 2
Every
is in the same
console has its own
ecosystem as the Switch.
ecosystem of games. What are we talking about?
Well,
Every
hold on a
console
second
does.
though. So the thing is,
I don't get it. It makes no sense.
No,
to me.
it's not. Like that's
There
like
were
saying
several
the PS5 and
generations-
the PS4 have different ecosystems. No, they don't.
That's Sony's problem.
there were
They
several
made it not have a
generations
different
of
ecosystem. That's on
video
them.
Nintendo systems. There were several handhelds in a row where Pokemon just were able to transfer over. They had to do they had no choice but to do a hard switch over. There was no choice. But to then do it again just one generation afterwards, when before was several generations,
They might not
it's
feel like
not
it's
it's not a
hard for the
desirable
Pokemon Home.
outcome. It's not the sole reason why there should be backwards compatibility, but it's just another additional consideration.
Yeah, and again, I do think there will be backwards compatibility. I'm being very clear. Nintendo's got a long history of one generation of backwards compatibility, and they're still going to have cartridges from what we're hearing. So, like, yeah, I feel like there's going to be backwards. It's going to be a non-issue.
Eric, you agree
Also-
with me and Andres, right?
He's been very loud about this entire time.
I completely deafening.
Yeah.
I
You're the
honestly don't know. I honestly don't know.
Yeah, I'm just messing with you. You're good.
I mean, literally, there's easy solutions too. Like, oh, you want to play the old game because you want to access the old Pokemon. Well, you can put all the Pokemon Home, and then you remaster the old games.
But you just did that. Why would you remaster Diamond and Pearl when you just did it and you did a bad job?
Because you did a bad job.
So
No,
okay,
but there's the next generation remaster.
You
They
said
always have
yourself.
to have another one.
They did a bad job, so that's why you do it.
But they do
They-
a bad job with all their games, so it's not
Oh.
like it's just they're going to
So
remaster.
I'm gonna
the
explain-
next
I'm going to
generation.
explain
Just
why
they
that's
don't-
They have to
unlikely.
do one a year. It always has to be a new one.
That's what-
I'm
now-
going
now
Whoever's
we're-
going to
explain why
sell
this-
most.
We're on record at the moment. Jake just said they're all a bad job, so we're talking about a franchise that every game is bad. Got it.
that still sells a lot.
The remakes are always a bad job, yes, but they need to do a different one every time, and you know this. This isn't even a debate.
No, I know. I'm saying, dude, we're entering the realm of remasters and remakes. And why can't they just
So,
remaster
alright.
the old games and bring
Well,
them
let
back?
me listen. Why can't they? They can do whatever they want. But if we're
They're
just
not
talking
going to
about what's
remaster
most
a
likely,
remake they just remade in 2019.
what
They're
makes
gonna
more
go
sense?
with like They're gonna go with Gen 5 or
they
Gen
would do
2.
that, but they could remaster Sword and Shield.
I don't know. It's the Pokemon company. I would
That's
never.
also that's
like,
dumb.
hold
What
anything
makes
over-
more sense though, right? Like, what makes most sense? Pokemon companies still being able to operate on the typical ecosystem they tend to do, or they're going to start to do a whole bunch of different things. Because Nate, what you're suggesting is they completely change their strategies,
There's
dropping
two ways for
remasters
that.
of the
You
game
know
6
it.
months
Look,
later.
3DS to Switch. How is this a change? They just did it. They just did it. We just went 3DS hard switch to Switch. I'm so confused.
Because 3DS were handheld only games. They weren't hybrid. They weren't console games.
Dude, they still haven't made a console Pokemon game. What are we talking about?
I disagree.
That's a different argument.
I'm
It's
just
a
saying,
different
like,
argument. It's not relevant.
Nate,
you're right.
hey.
Him mentioning that, it's different because Switch is a home dude, it's a handheld. It uses literally
Nathaniel?
mobile technology with the screen. Does it have a screen? Does every Switch come with it? There's not a Switch that doesn't switch. It's
Take
literally
off your
the only
pants
requirement
right
to be
now
Switch. Oh,
There
man.
and come FaceTime me, and we're gonna work this out. Turn off your webcam.
No.
Actually, yes, there is a
I
Switch.
mean, the
that
funny
doesn't
thing
Switch.
is, I agree there's going to be backwards compatibility, but also if there isn't, I don't think Pokemon's going to be anything anyone's concerned about. Some Pokemon fans might be sad, and the argument is just don't get rid of your damn Switch.
So this is why the Pokemon thing makes sense. Just because Pokemon is a big moneymaker for Nintendo, and having
Sure.
Pokemon available, one on the Switch, one obviously because that's what Pokemon Company wants, but also available for Switch 2 because it does help. If Pokemon's not playable on Switch 2 for the holidays, that is a problem. Is it a problem that they can get over? For sure, but it's not a good thing, right? The same way backwards compatibility.
Nate, I
Would
let you sway me last week. I'm not going down that slippery slope again. I'm
So
standing by my guy.
okay, to be clear, we're just talking about one Pokemon game, right? Right? Like
What do you mean? What do you mean?
holiday, right?
Wait, what?
It's not necessarily just one Pokemon game. It's however many Pokemon games come out until they're ready to move on to the next console.
Okay, and why aren't they ready to move on to the next console? What's the reason?
Well, obviously the answer is because they want to. Well, there's actually more than one reason. One reason that I think that's the reason that you're steering me towards is because they're waiting for the install base. But the second reason is because development cycles. They need to be ready to put out that next game.
I mean, I don't want to. I'll say this about your second reason. I'll never buy the second reason because if that means that Game Freak would not have had access to Switch before anybody else. Switch 2.
Okay, here's my last argument. My last argument why it would be stupid for Pokemon to not have backwards compatibility. There's a lot of people that like Pokemon's their main game. They play it. The only way it would make sense for it to not be backwards compatible is if there was a brand new Pokemon day one launch title, a full-blown Pokemon. Otherwise, they're telling all the people that play Pokemon, yeah, you can transfer your Pokemon to Pokemon Home and just not play Pokemon for the next year till a new Pokemon game.
A majority of people that play Pokemon aren't going to have a Switch 2 during that time, anyways. That's like the whole reason they don't bring games over that early in the gen.
Pokemon fans would never want to.
They're not going to have Switch 2.
Yeah.
But the thing is, usually, right, when a new system comes out,
there's not going to be enough of them on the market for that to matter at that point.
Listen, I've been usually an early adopter for handheld Nintendo systems, and I've also been a big Pokemon fan. I think Jake is in the same boat as me.
Yeah,
we tend to play the Pokemon, even though they're made for the prior system. We play those games on the new system. There is still an audience for that, and it does hurt you. It's not the only point, but it does hurt you. If you don't have backwards compatibility, you are losing out on some sales. That's a fact. Now, obviously, that's not the only reason why they should do it.
Because it makes a presumption that people that own Switch 2, if they really wanted to play Pokemon, wouldn't have held on to their Switch to play it. It's an assumption being made. My presumption is if they release it there and then they wait and then they re-release it on Switch 2 again, they get a double bump in sales twice. It might actually lead to more.
Here's the problem.
I'll just say this: if they want
an
extra 30 million people buying their system, they'll let them play their Pokemon games backwards compatible. If they want those 30 million people to wait till the next Pokemon game comes out and they don't want to sell 30 million extra units at launch, then yeah, they won't have.
They're not going to sell 30 million extra units at launch. There's only going to be like, how many Switch 2s do you guys think are going to be sold through the holiday next year? Like, how many realistically do you think Switch 2 customers will exist?
More than you think.
If it drops in March, maybe 30 million tops. But I don't mean like right away, but I mean like as they are available.
Oh, whoa. That would be an all-time record.
So
If
how
they
much
can
did
make them-
Switch,
If they
did
can
Switch
make
sell
them, I bet
15
they could
million
sell
in its
that much.
first fiscal year?
Yeah, it was about 15 million.
I think Nintendo's aiming
full
for Nintendo's aiming for a similar number, if not more.
Okay, but it's not probably releasing in March of next year. So
No.
there's going to be less than 15 million.
No, but they're going to get the majority of those out by the end of the holiday.
Depends on when it launches, you know. If like it's September, I think realistically you might only have like 6 million people with one. And I'm not going to be a Debbie Downer. It's just like it's only a few months of sales. It's going to be sold out. It's going to be hard to get. Other platforms are dropping as well, so the consumers are going to be trying to buy, you know, the new Xboxes, the new PlayStations. Other games are coming out for those other systems because they should be in their heyday. They should start getting slapping with games. So now Nintendo's competing in that market, and then on top of that, hey, we are fighting at manufacturing to get as many of these things made.
Well, we've heard from the reports that Nintendo's trying to get out a lot.
Sure, and the reports were that they would start mass manufacturing by the end of the year.
So and then the reason why Nintendo wouldn't release a system earlier is because of trying to get enough units so they can have a massive launch. They're not trying to have a small launch; they want to have a big launch. Obviously, that's a relative term, small, big. We don't know what that actually equates to for an actual number, right? So we can argue this all day. We don't have the answer. We don't. But anyways, beyond the Pokemon point, right? Like, I mean, even in your video today, right? You mentioned how there was another source that indicated that they've heard about backwards compatibility, but there was some uncertainty. And I think what's interesting about this goes back to like the initial report we got about backwards compatibility like a month or so ago. If you're hearing from multiple developers, and some are saying backwards compatibility and some are saying not, my interpretation of that is that some people don't have access to backwards compatibility yet. But the fact that it exists suggests that they can totally do it. It would be Nintendo making some sort of decision to not do it. And the problem with that is that, as we've discussed before, getting backwards compatibility on the system is not an easy thing to do. So they would have to actually most likely have to have done some sort of R&D to get backwards compatibility working. Emulation. So if there are some developers that have dev kits that have backwards compatibility, that means they already put the investment into doing it. So wouldn't it be weird for them to not do it when they already put the investment to do it?
At least we can all agree on one thing. If they do have backwards compatibility, the only reason why is because of Pokemon, and Nate was wrong. So if they have backwards compatibility when it comes out, no, it's okay, Nate. You don't have to say anything. We all know.
No, I wanted to address this third party.
No, Nate, you don't have to say anything. We all know that's the reason.
Too bad. I'm gonna address it anyways. No, so I'm just part of, like you were saying, what third parties had to, for there to be this confusion. Some third parties are put in time to port or like make it back. Like what did you just say about third parties?
I don't think you understood my point.
Yes, that's why I'm trying to get you to re-clarify, but Jake kept interrupting me.
Let me try and explain my point better. So the point I was making, right, is that we've heard from different developers, right, that there is backwards compatibility. But we've heard from other developers that there isn't backwards compatibility. So the implication would be that there are different dev kits out there. That offer different features. Okay, so we're on the same page now. But what we also understand is that getting backwards compatibility to work is not just a flick of a switch. It requires some R&D and to come up with a solution.
For Nintendo,
correct? Correct. Right. So if some of the Nintendo Switch 2's dev kits have backwards compatibility, that would imply they already went through the research and development to get that working. So why would they make that investment to not actually have it in the system? I would say that would be, I'm not saying it's impossible that they would forego it, but it would be them accepting a loss.
And again, we all agree that there's going to be backwards compatibility. Even me, we're playing devil's advocate.
The point is, though, is that when you consider what I just illustrated, hopefully well, then it just makes it unlikely that there won't be backwards compatibility,
And
or rather likely that there will be.
The devil's advocate response is these are all unverified reports.
Sure, nothing's confirmed, but if we're gonna bet money, I'm betting my money on backwards compatibility.
It's confirmed. I talked to the Pokemon company, and they confirmed that they fought for.
Well, I mean, I have an unpopular opinion about Pokemon, anyways.
Let's go.
They completely made a mistake when they even put in transferring your Pokemon. They should have all just been self-contained games.
That just doesn't make any sense.
He just went there. By the way, I agree with him. I'd prefer Pokemon if it was that way, but it's not. And because it's never been that way.
Oh, no, I know.
The Pokemon fans are going to like.
Oh, I know they are. They're going to burn me down.
You over and they're going to stick you in that fire pit.
Oh, I know.
I want Pokemon to be that way, but it's not going to be.
They made a mistake when they did that to begin with. But
yeah, so did I. But
I mean, there's a reason why they had to back. There's a reason why they had to throw out. Got to catch them all.
Yeah, you can't go back now though. It's too late to do that. They never. For those that aren't wondering,
let me ask you a clarifying question on that, Eric.
Yeah.
Sure.
Do you mean like you wish every standalone Pokemon game had access to every Pokemon within it?
No.
No, just its own Pokemon.
Yeah, self-contained games. And see, you're sitting there going like this because Pokemon's never been that way, but Zelda's that way. Mario's that way. So many video games are self-contained. So it's like you could have self-contained and met each generation about those.
I'm gonna self-contain all over your face.
I'm sorry, I was beaten over the head with "Gotta Catch Them All." So
you hear 1,100 Pokemon, you're like,
you don't have to catch them all. You can play them as self-contained games if you wish. Having an extra option isn't a bad thing.
Yeah, but see, Jake, we have to understand is when a child is beaten into their head that you got to catch them all, and that's the point of playing the games.
They only said that in Gen 1, then they removed the slogan.
I would be careful. What Gen? What Gen might ban you?
Gen 2 is when they stopped saying that, I think.
What Gen sold the most again? Which one had the biggest, largest fan base?
I don't know which one sold the most, but they
they
stopped using "Gotta Catch 'Em All" as a slogan after Gen 2.
So they stopped it in the anime as well.
The anime is not a video game.
The theme song.
They were related. I know they were separate stories, but it was the whole "I gotta catch them all" phrase. It wasn't just like a one-off. Oh, it appeared in a game one day and then vanished the next day.
It was taken out of the box art for Pokemon Ruby and Sapphire.
Okay.
It dropped sometime between January 2003 and March 2003.
Okay, 20 years ago.
And I'm 37.
When did the original Pokemon come
What does that matter?
Most Pokemon players aren't.
We're talking about from the very beginning of the series that we would have preferred it this way. We're not talking about
that was when there was like 300 Pokemon max. Once they started adding more than
there
that,
was 151 and then they had the Gen 2. Like Gen 2 could have been self-contained. But I know it sounds crazy today because Pokemon's never been that way. That's why when he brought it up, I was like, oh, I can't believe he went there. But I agree that I wish
Pokemon. You made me mad, Eric. I thought we were friends.
I'm sorry. I know. I love you still. But
so the self-contained Pokemon thing, to me, the appeal of it is it forces you to let go of those prior Pokemon and focus on what's just in this game.
Not just that, it's some of it is just the overwhelming amount of sheer Pokemon that it's like, if I wanted to catch
optional. You can catch 6 Pokemon and beat any Pokemon game.
But if I wanted
most people don't play Pokemon, or like I shouldn't say most people. I will say that for us growing up, the point of Pokemon is to catch them all, and that's still true to me.
That's not true. Most people never caught them all in Gen 1. They just beat the Elite Four.
It's also a relative term. Catch them all in the game.
You got to remember, but yes, you're right. Catch them all in the game.
That's why every game that comes out only has 400. So you can catch them all and get your complete Pokedex with only 400. That's why every game is like that now. So they are self-contained if you want them to be, and you can still get a Oaks certificate.
That's like today's games though, where like they don't have the giant national decks anymore.
But let's be real here. How many people actually catch them all? That is a strong. Okay, well, you were the minority. No, you haven't. When was the last time you caught them all?
Pokemon Legends Arceus.
Oh, okay, nice. I thought you didn't play Pokemon games.
That's a good Pokemon game. I'm sorry that they don't make them very often. My bad.
Hopefully, we get another one next year.
I
would
love
be
that,
nice.
and I loved that empty tech
And
demo.
because the
that
Switch 2
Legends
will be backwards
Arceus.
compatible, people
So
will be able
good.
to play it on their Switch too.
Legends Arceus is the highest rated Pokemon game since, gosh, what's it been, 20 years? Just empty tech demo seems to be better than every other Pokemon game according to the critics.
Well,
All right, so moving on.
Sorry, I just had to throw that out there.
Jawbreaker
I had to
for
throw that out there.
$5 says not having backwards compatibility would be insane. The Switch has a massive library install base. Why the hell would they want to start over? And I agree. To be clear, I was playing devil's advocate. I think we're going to get backwards compatibility. Nintendo has a history of it. It makes
you heard it all. You heard it here. He was playing devil's advocate. He knows that Pokemon would never let it not be backwards compatible. He was only playing devil's advocate. He doesn't believe that
say over anything Nintendo does. To be clear, there's no say. Pokemon's doesn't have that kind of power.
Yeah, it doesn't.
Hold on.
All. Nintendo would never do anything because of Pokemon Company. That's true.
Let me argue against that point Nate just made. All right, let me ask you this question: what's more important to Nintendo, Capcom or Pokemon?
Probably Pokemon. They own the IP.
All right, so and then all right. Okay, so you agree with that?
Go with the RAM thing.
Yeah, you know exactly where I'm going. So if Capcom had the sway to get Nintendo to put an additional gigabyte of RAM, which was 33% more RAM on the Switch, then
unverified report. Sure.
Okay, but do you think it's likely?
I don't know. It could have been more than just Capcom requesting it, and they're just the name they got thrown out there.
So
I doubt they're the only third-party company that told Nintendo we want more RAM.
So do you think Capcom influenced it or not? Do you think it was part of the decision?
Yeah, what do you think?
I don't know. I've literally never been involved with Nintendo discussing hardware with other companies.
So what do you think then?
I think that everyone was requesting more RAM.
Let's look at the top 10 best-selling games
got
on
named
Switch.
because that was the source of the report. Like the guy knew someone at Capcom, so it was like the source for the report. But I don't think they're the only ones that were telling Nintendo we want more RAM.
I don't know.
I think Capcom barely got more credit.
Do you think that them being one of them, if they were influenced Nintendo in any way?
Do you think that's the most important?
They took that into consideration.
Because I believe that original report said sources close to Capcom, and it's like, well, only Nintendo knows if that was the big influence or not.
So you're not going to answer the question, okay?
I did answer the question. You just didn't like my answer.
No. What my question was, even if it was hundreds, do you think Capcom being one of them influenced it at all? Do you think Nintendo took into consideration if Capcom was one of them? Do you think they took that?
I think it would have been considered without Capcom. So what's the point?
So with Capcom, they definitely did then, right?
No, I don't think any more than any other company. You're trying to get me to say
not any more than any other company, but they took that did that into consideration, right? That's all I'm saying.
Okay, I don't know what the point to it is. I'm saying that I don't think they listened to Capcom specifically to make this decision. It was a general decision.
Right. I get you're saying that. I'm just saying, do you think them being one of the companies added to it? If it was 11 companies without Capcom, do you think Capcom being the 12th, hypothetically, would have given them more influence? No? Okay. So
if 11 major third-party companies are like, hey,
you think that if Capcom said we would like 12 gigabytes of RAM, Nintendo would have just not taken that in consideration at all?
12 gigabytes of RAM? They were never going to do that.
For Switch 2.
Well, Switch 2, I don't think they consulted anyone but NVIDIA and themselves. They're doing the consulting now. That's what all the dev kits and the Gamescom stuff is. And no one's complaining, so I don't really know what the problem is.
Okay.
I'm saying that, like, we're talking about something that happened a long time ago, and like trying to bring up this point that Nintendo would listen more to the Pokemon company, or in this case, Game Freak, than other companies. And well, yeah, of course they would, because Nintendo owns Pokemon. They don't own anything Capcom.
Right. So here's a crazy stat for you. Okay. I
just don't think the Pokemon company makes those kind of requests. Right. Basically.
So there have been over 1 billion software sales for Nintendo Switch.
Sure.
Right, I'm looking at the site. It's
I think it's the first time they've been
1,088 million. If you add up the Pokemon, the mainline Pokemon games, you get about 94 million, which is
Yeah.
a little bit under 10% of the total software sales of Nintendo Switch.
Sure.
You're gonna tell me they don't have sway? That's sway. That's a big number.
That's sway.
It's a big ratio of
Sure.
your software sales. Which,
Yeah, I
by the
know,
way,
the same
Nintendo
people buy
owns
games
those,
over and over again. I know it happens. Yeah.
and then obviously a lot of those software sales come from third parties as well, right? But Pokemon is not third party. I don't know what the cut is, but I'm assuming Nintendo makes more from Pokemon sales than they do from third party sales. But I don't know that for a fact.
Yeah, I don't know what the cuts are. Yeah.
Yeah. Point is though, Pokemon games they're a big ratio of the total software sales for Nintendo. They absolutely have sway.
I just don't think they've ever made hardware requests. I don't think they care. And I think you could see that in the games that they make. I don't think they really care. They just make it for whatever's they're given.
I don't think they care about hardware requests in terms of like power, capability,
Yeah,
anything like that, but
yeah.
stuff about that would directly relate to like transferring Pokemon and like the ability to play games on a different platform.
You think
they
the
would care about
Pokemon
that.
company that ended the national Dex cares?
Absolutely, because they
want-
care about money. That's all they care about.
They just
So,
care
yes,
about sales. They care about sales. That's it.
I actually
Exactly.
So let me tell you this. Everyone thought it would hurt sales when they ended the national Dex, and then they went on to release back-to-back.
Oh,
How many
everyone?
Pokemon
Everyone?
Home
Everyone?
subscriptions?
A lot.
That is bogus.
Nate, let me tell you something about Pokemon Home. This is the best point I can make.
Sure.
Pokemon Home, if you let your subscription lapse, all of the Pokemon that you have inside there, if you've transferred every Pokemon you have from all of your Switch games to Pokemon Home,
Sure.
and you let your subscription lapse,
Yep.
all your Pokemon stay in there for free
Sure.
until you renew your subscription.
Yeah.
So
Makes
how
sense.
many subscriptions do you think would lapse if the Switch 2 came out without a new Pokemon game and people just transferred their Pokemon in? Now, would some people keep playing and keep their original Switch? Of course. But
Wait,
would
how
they
many
be
subscriptions
gaining
would lapse?
subscriptions or losing subscriptions?
Why would they lose subscriptions? Because that would be the only way to bring Pokemon from Switch to Switch 2. So why?
But
why
there's no game they can play on Switch 2 unless there's a
But there will
launch
be
title.
eventually. Why would they
Yes.
cancel?
So why keep paying for it? Until that game comes out, subscriptions would go down. And that is why case closed.
I'm confused because maybe you still want to access Pokemon from the prior games before Switch.
Then you wouldn't transfer them to Pokemon Home.
You're thinking that they never would transfer them to Pokemon Home?
Not until the new game came out.
But if there's a new game on Switch and they wanted to transfer the Pokemon from their old game, because like you're using this thing, they would sell their Switch to buy a Switch 2. Well, they could sell
There's no new Pokemon
games to buy new Pokemon games.
They can do that. They can do all that now. There's no new Pokemon game coming out for
Probably
Switch.
Woo! I love the way he just yoinked himself like that. I'll be back. I don't know if he'll actually be back. I have no idea. That was a great episode.
That was a
Anyways, no, I'm saying like some people sell their Pokemon games to buy new Pokemon games too, but the only way they still have access to those Pokemon is if they put them on home. And if they want to transfer them to the new Pokemon
But
game,
there is no new Pokemon game coming.
There's gonna be a new Pokemon game probably next year, right? Is that something we can
for Switch
sort of
2?
agree on?
For Switch 2,
You think it's a Switch 2 exclusive game?
not exclusive.
Then it's a
But
Switch.
they can
game.
just let their subscription lapse, and then if they want to do it, they'll re-up their Pokemon
I
Home
just don't know why
subscription.
they couldn't just why would they want? I'm confused. So you're saying they would let their subscription lapse if a new Pokemon game comes out because it's not on Switch 2?
No. They would let it lapse until that game came out.
But don't they do that already?
I mean,
I
to
was gonna
some
be like,
extent.
oh, why would they just do that already? If you're done playing the Pokemon game and you transferred your Pokemon, I'm done paying until the next game comes out. I'm confused. That doesn't make any sense.
But there would be a lot more people doing it if they were trading in their Switches for a Switch 2. Because not every Pokemon player is a die-hard
If a brand new
player.
Pokemon game came out, they probably aren't trading in their Switch.
What do you?
If a brand new game came out that was exclusive to Switch while Switch 2 was out, why would they? If they're that big of a Pokemon fan, why would they be trading in their Switch? They're just going to play the new Pokemon
Well,
game.
not all Pokemon players are that big of Pokemon fans. Not all Pokemon Home subscribers are that big of Pokemon fans. It just makes sense for the Pokemon Company to give people that have a subscription to Home a reason to keep it.
I mean, I have some opinions on home that I don't want to get into, but Andres, what's up?
Can we move on?
Yeah. Well, I have a couple more things I have to share from.
I think we just disagree, and I think we're just gonna have to move on.
There are still a few Pokemon, says Trentendo, even with the leaked DLC that will not be on Nintendo Switch, like the Elemental Monkeys. Pokemon on Switch 2 will not be any problem, in my opinion. I don't know. Were you backing me up on that one? By mentioning that technically
I think he's backing me up, yeah.
Yeah, I think he's saying technically they're not all available on Switch, is what he's trying to say. So it's already technically a problem, depending on if the, I mean, it just is a problem, I guess. It's just straight up kind of what he's saying. But most of them, to Jake's point, most of them are available.
I think
I don't know how many.
I think someone said in the chat it was 6 out of like nearly 1,100.
Yeah.
And that could be right. It could be more than that too, because I didn't know that.
Yeah. So maybe there's other special use cases where maybe there's something that isn't on Switch. I don't have enough knowledge of like the Pokemon themselves, like in any of that to know.
I'll have to look into the leaked Pokemon thing. I'm not sure about these elemental monkeys.
Yeah, maybe if it's something that comes back in the
So
DLC.
I'm seeing an article on Game Rant that says this was 5 days ago, and they might be adding a lot more to the DLC, but it says as of 5 days ago there are 21 Pokemon that you
cannot get on Switch at all.
Okay.
Yeah, but we still have Wave 2. So
yeah, we still have Wave 2, so who knows if they get added.
Right, so that might
change,
be reduced, but he could be right that there's still going to be a few missing in the next DLC.
Well, the other thing is, why does it matter? Because there's going to be a Pokemon game.
Oh, it'll go down to 9. It says in the article. There'll be 9 missing.
Okay. All right. So that was that one. I just wanted to bring that up. And then I think we did the Jawbreaker one here.
Yep, we did.
So that one's good. We have Joshua David coming in, just saying thanks for gifted membership. So yeah, you're welcome, David. You can probably thank Bama Hut or
I think it was just Bama.
I don't know. I don't know if he got it today though. He might not have been gifted today.
True.
Yeah. We've had over 100 gifted memberships this week. So I don't know.
Yeah,
it could be from anyone. And then the last actual question, I figured this would be a great one to end the show on. Taker 610 says, "Does Quaker Oats come in a box?" I think this is directed at Jake. Does Quaker Oats come in a box? And forever, I'm gonna, dude. If this Brooklyn system comes out and it is that cylindrical shape, I think I'm gonna call it the Quaker Oats system now.
It comes in a tube.
It's a canister.
There you go.
It's
That's
a canister. I don't know why I didn't think of this earlier, but it's a canister.
But that's the definition of canister? I swear, if it says box,
it's a cylinder. It's cylindrical box.
It's cylindrical box.
That would if it says it's a cylindrical box, then we know that the word for cylindrical box going forward is canister. So if it says that,
it says cylindrical container.
Yes.
Okay, it doesn't say box. So there is a difference between a box and a canister.
But canister.
Well, a canister can open up.
Technically.
Oh yeah, the open up thing could be.
Well, so can a box. Technically, it's not a box or a canister. None of the Xboxes are boxes because you can't open them.
It's what it stores. It's actually a canister is specifically for storing food, chemicals, or rolls of film.
Xbox is kind of chemicals.
Because it does not say that's typically used. It's saying it's literally that's what makes it a
typically of metal. But...
Yeah, typically made of metal, but it doesn't have to be.
Right.
But it is used for storing food.
What's the definition of a tube? I like the name X Tube.
Well, yeah. Don't not type that in Google.
It sounds like it's weirdly familiar.
Do not type that in Google.
Yeah. A long hollow cylinder of metal, plastic, gas for holding, transporting something, chiefly liquids or gases.
So it's similar to the other one, but it's for
glass.
So it's similar to the canister, but it's meant for carrying something different. Okay. Like gases and liquids.
Yes.
Okay. Got it. And I guess
I
was like, because we use like those breathing tube things, and technically that's oxygen, that's a gas. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So technically, yeah. All right. So there is like a difference. It's like more targeted on what these specifically mean, but they're not boxes. Boxes don't
They're
have
not
to
a
have,
box.
boxes
But-
don't have to. They don't have to be square. They don't have to have 4 corners. Interesting. Well, it wouldn't be
God.
8 corners.
So my question is Quaker Oats backwards compatible?
Actually, no, that's a very good question because
Wait,
right now the Xbox
which one
Series
came out
X, no,
first?
the Xbox Series X is backwards compatible all the way back to Gen 1 using discs.
Actually-
you will not be able to do that if your collection is on discs on this new system.
That's exactly what I was getting at.
Yeah, that's exactly what you're getting at.
wait, I'm
Exactly.
guessing.
But it technically is for digital libraries.
I mean, it's a series. I mean, it's still it's being pinned as it's still a Series X, right? Just a variant of the Series X.
Like the
So
Series S, you can play like your digital Xbox One games on Series S. So,
I guess the problem is like what happens when you have a disc.
well, I mean that's the whole point. It's an all digital system.
Maybe they release a
usually not
peripheral where
buy
you
that.
can get the disc.
You know what they were saying? Wasn't that Sony that they were going to do an all digital, but they were going to have a disc accessory or something like that? Wasn't that one of the rumors floating out there for a new system?
A disc accessory. But I guess the question is a disc accessory
that was
used
like
to
the
just
slim-
prove you
the-
have the
the-
game so you
the
can
slim down
download the
PS5
game,
or whatever they
or
were
is it used so you can run the game from the disc peripheral? I don't know. It's weird.
I think it's more just look, external disc drives exist. You can buy them for your laptop. Like it's not like a foreign concept.
I would say yes, that Quaker Oats is backwards compatible because the individually wrapped packages can go back into the canister.
There you go. There you go.
So
Eric,
yeah, yes, it is
Eric,
backwards
with the,
This is
with
the most
truth
important topic
nugget.
of the cast.
And you do also with Quaker Oats, you do have cross-platform play because you can mix your cereal whenever you want.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This reminds me of like when people ask, like the one question in the chat from Entrain is a hot dog a sandwich? The answer is yes, but we don't call it that.
It's a taco.
Wait,
Wait, is it though?
It's called a hot
Because
dog.
it's
a
not
meat-
2 pieces of bread.
You don't need 2 pieces of bread to make a sandwich.
What?
Mm,
Oh, well, if you cut it in half.
You can fold the piece in half.
Sandwich
Fold?
You can cut it in half.
Fold or cut?
wouldn't that be a sub?
Oh,
Wait,
or-
hold on.
hold on.
Hold on.
Or
Hold
would
on.
it
Eric's
be a
definition.
gyro?
An item of food consisting of 2 pieces of bread with meat, cheese, or other filling between them.
So every time I literally fold a piece of bread in half with meat
It's
in it, I am
technically
not
not a
eating a
sandwich.
sandwich. So what the hell is
You're
that?
eating a sub. You're eating a sub.
Is it?
Ah,
But sometimes
it's-
subs have a top and bottom, like separate pieces.
No,
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 subs are generally cut in half, like cut into.
it's cut. Yeah, it's cut
It's a
and still
single- it's a
connected.
Oh, maybe
single
it's just
item
called a
that's cut
hoagie?
in.
Okay, well, no. Because if you're talking about it's a single piece of bread, but they cut it, well, guess what? Where do you think your slices of bread came from? It was a single piece of bread that you cut. I'm confused.
But they're still.
But you cut it into 2 pieces. That's
Well,
that's
no,
the
you
only
don't cut
difference.
it even 2 pieces. It's cut just partially.
That is a difference.
I don't know.
Definition
I don't
of
know.
a sub. Hold on.
But is a sub of a sandwich? Because it's a submarine sandwich. So does that mean it's
Right.
A
So it's a sub
a
definition.
sub sandwich? Does that make sense?
different meaning of sub.
Yes.
Submarine
It's a
sandwich.
subcategory
definition.
of sandwich.
Holy cow.
Okay. So here we go. This is the thing. So a submarine sandwich, the difference is that it's actually considered a full loaf of bread that you put the food in versus 2
Okay.
individual smaller slices of that loaf. So it's just there's a difference. That's the difference. So it doesn't
Got
have to
it.
be
Okay.
connected. It just has to be the whole loaf, or
So
in
what
this case, a half loaf. You know.
what is it? Is there a distinction if it's connected? Is that like a hoagie? Like
Oh, that's a good question. Would that be considered? Yeah, is there a difference? The sub doesn't. It
Yeah.
doesn't technically have to
So-
be connected.
Here's
yeah,
my
no, I
opinion.
get what a sub is now.
Yeah, that actually makes sense. Now that I read that, I was like, oh,
Yeah.
you know what? It is like a whole thing of bread.
Is cereal soup?
Yes, actually, I have no
Yeah.
idea.
Well, no, because doesn't soup require a broth?
Milk.
Milk's the broth.
Is it? What constitutes a broth?
Liquid.
Oh no. Here's the
is it
thing.
not?
It does not. It is technically not considered on its own to be a soup because cereal is eatable without the milk. Like it's dry
Edible.
food. It's
Edible.
dry food.
But okay, so if I give you a bowl of cereal with milk, would that be soup?
That's it.
I
It
could
is
technically
then it
drain the broth
then it
off
qualify. No, then it does qualify as a liquid food, which is what a soup is called. That's all a soup is just liquid food.
Just
Is
like
that what it's
anything could be considered a salad.
what is soup?
Yeah.
Soup is primarily
So dry
liquid food,
cereal
generally
is a
served
salad,
warmer.
but cereal with milk is a soup.
I guess technically.
Technically, I mean,
Well, okay. The thing is, though.
we can go on
The
the
thing
rabbit
is,
hole all
though.
fucking day on this.
Podcast of this
all right.
weird food
Merriam-Webster.
All right. So here's.
Merriam-Webster just says it's just liquid food.
I would
it's
argue. I would
Typically
argue.
with
I
this,
think
it doesn't have to have. Yeah.
I'm looking at definitions, right? And
Yeah.
I'm seeing the Merriam-Webster definition is. Hold on, let me click the whole
For
thing.
soup?
Yes, a liquid food, especially with a meat, fish, or vegetable stock as a base, and often containing pieces of solid food.
But
So-
especially not
Right, and that's the determining factor. If there was no especially, then you would think it needs to have meat, fish, or vegetable stock. But since it seems to be implying that that's what it tends to have.
yeah.
But
Yeah,
what are we
well,
talking
I've
about?
had fruit soups. I've had cold soups. I've had like watermelon soup from Soup Factory, or like mango soup.
Yeah. So it's just basically a liquid food is the only raw definition. And then they just say, but
Yeah.
typically it has, but it doesn't
Right.
have.
So,
So technically
if
any liquid food would be soup.
So
Yeah.
if I put like cereal with water in a blender and blended it, that
so
could
it's a
possibly be soup.
smoothie. A smoothie, a
It
soup.
depends
then?
how liquidy it
Is a
is. though.
smoothie a soup?
And
No,
like
no,
in terms
like-
of pure liquid, because of all the water I had.
Yeah. How is a smoothie not a soup then?
It is.
It's a type of soup.
It is.
This is nuts.
This is
No,
insane.
maybe it's not
This is
because it
insane.
wouldn't have the consistency of a liquid.
But
No, a smoothie would.
it's liquid food.
I've had cold soups, like I said, from the Soup Factory that are fruit soups that could pass for smoothies. Like
Well,
it's
now
the
here-
same.
Well,
But
here's
that-
another
it-
question.
I hate when people do this.
Oh, the
What?
stream crashed. Oh, he's gone. Yeah, I hate when people do that. Hate it.
Did the whole stream die? Or are we still here?
No, we're still here.
Oh no,
That's
we're
the beauty of
still
StreamYard.
alive.
Yeah.
It's a
I
cool
think-
right,
oh,
it's
Hopefully
a-
we'll be back.
No, we're
there's
back.
something wrong because both of them are gone.
It's back.
Oh,
We're
yeah,
back.
so we do hate it
Temporary
when
outage.
people
That's
do
not
that.
on us. That's on StreamYard doing weird
We-
things.
Well, is it?
No, I
Yeah,
got you.
'cause
I'm
we're-
surprised that
yeah,
like the
we're-
stream kept going.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, no, it doesn't end.
I was
I've
gonna,
had
that's
this
one
happen
way to
once
end.
with a different stream. I was
Yeah.
testing. I had this happen.
Yeah, I think
We're
Eric's
good.
still gone. Oh no, he's sort of there.
No, he's there.
Yeah.
It's just taking a moment to come back on your
Yeah.
end. We
Yeah,
have the
the frame rate.
master edition of the stream back here. It's fine. Anyways, well, that I think it's gonna do it. We can go around the show, go around the room, and just tell people what we got going on, where they can find us. I mean, this is the regular crew, so I think most people know, but you never know. We do get new people watching every single week. In fact, last week, did we have 4,400 views after the fact?
That's crazy.
That's we haven't had an episode do that in forever. Welcome
That's
to
the power
Inch.
of the 2-inch.
The boner patrol over there. I guess he just made it happen.
Wee
big
oo,
girth.
wee oo.
So speaking of boner patrol, where can they find you? But what do you got going on?
You guys can find me at Jake Randall. That's my stage name. Boner Patrol is my legal name. That's why I go by it on here. But
Sense
Jake
be made.
Randall on YouTube or Twitter.
There it is. Now, Twitter doesn't exist on X. Got it? Got it.
No,
On X.
no.
Even when you're
On
doing
X,
URLs now, they're now x.com.
Look up Jake Randall on XTube.
No,
Not
what's
this-
hilarious about the X is that it's technically now X videos when you put a video up on there.
No, they changed the account for that too. I forget what they changed it to, but they
what
copped
do they
out.
call it now?
They
Is it
copped
called
out.
Reduce?
No, I think they just made it video. Like
Oh, it's not an X video. Now it's just a video. Clever.
yeah, and like Twitter videos, that account, like the official Twitter video,
It's just
instead of
called
changing
video.
to X video, just changed to video.
Because
Well,
X
you
videos,
can't
so no, no, it's a
no,
reference to an adult
no, yes.
website. So like,
Yeah,
they didn't think it through.
That-
Elon-
that was-
you know what?
that really
you know what?
bummed
If
me
I was
out,
Elon
though.
Musk and just rocking billions and just doing things for fun, I might just rebrand shit for
Exactly.
fun. Fuck it. Who cares what anyone else thinks? It's just
Yeah,
you know what, man?
fair.
I've always wanted something to be X and have it matter. I bought this thing. It's now X. Have a good day. Eric, what you got going on? Where can they find you?
I got nothing going on. I'm here.
Well, that's lame.
I'm here. and you can follow me there on so-called X.
It's not so-called. That's the
I
official
don't
brand
give
now.
a shit. I'm not calling it
It's
X.
the official brand.
I don't care. I'm not calling it
It's
X.
called X, and we zeet. We don't tweet. We zeet.
No, you post.
Right.
That's what they changed it to.
They changed it from zeet. Now, that was in their documentation. It was called a zeet. Now it's
No,
post.
and if you look at the retweet button, like if you hover over, it's repost.
Yeah, it's repost now. Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah, and when you tweet, it's just post.
So it's a forum.
Yeah.
They're making
So
it back
they
into a
decided
forum.
to take the one thing they have that made them different. That was like
And
something that
become a
any other
generic
company
forum.
would pay billions for to have their own brand recognition,
Hey,
and they
hey,
just got rid
hey.
of it.
Technically, it's dude, on my phone, it's a giant X. I mean, look, no other
I
app's
don't
giving me
care.
that giant X.
I'm still gonna call it
That
Twitter.
sucks.
I'm still calling
That
it Twitter.
sucks. On this restart, what do you got going on? Where can they find you?
You can find me at Andres Restart on YouTube. I am in the middle of working on some potential subtle social media changes, just basically putting out my content on other platforms. Thinking about it. We'll see. Don't hold me to it, but you may see it.
Full-time
You
kick
might-
stream coming up.
My
Finally,
YouTube stuff
OnlyFans.
showing
I
up
knew I'd
in other
draw you
places
in.
like Facebook, TikTok, Instagram.
OnlyFans.
So keep your eyes. Yeah, well, Charmander's feet's got to go somewhere.
You didn't say
but
no.
yeah. Oh, Samus in the bikini.
Oh, here we go.
Right over the suit.
My favorite
Anyway, yeah.
part.
So I make YouTube videos every day about Nintendo news and theories. I'm usually right. That's not true. I'm like right half the time. Half. I feel good about. I feel good about the 50-ish% eventually. Like most people.
All right. Well, obviously, you guys know who I am, so I'm not going to say too much about it. Nintendo Prime, just type Nintendo Prime anywhere. It'll pop up. Hopefully, good things pop up, maybe bad things. I have no idea. I don't really control what your search shows you. You know, they base your search on your search history. So you let me know what you find. That being said, yeah, you can hear us on all podcast platforms. Well, soon. Technically, the audio version is down at the moment, but we'll be back up soon. So you can look forward to that. Otherwise, thank you. You guys can be back here next week. Every week around 8 p.m. I say around because it never seems to start quite on time, but we get close some days. So maybe we'll start early one day. No, no, we won't. I don't know why I even said that.
Yeah,
That's
no.
just not going to happen.
No.
All right, guys. You're awesome. Thank you for supporting the show, and we'll catch you same time next week.
Love you guys.
Soup, box, cylinders.